We're back. The time is now.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Boaky, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 7:30 p.m. UK, 1:30 p.m. USA.
NUFC Talk.
We're coming on. Hey, it was like Halloween. It was like Friday the 13th all over again. I'm behind the door. Right, welcome everybody. 7:30 show. Got me and Boaky at the minute. I don't know what's happened to the mighty Win. I'm sure he'll come and join us in a second. But welcome one and all. The night after, the night before. I hope you've had a good sleep. I haven't, as you can tell by the bags on my eyes. I feel rather. What's the word I'm looking for? Knackered. We are knackered, I think is the word I'm looking for. Well, I hope you're all well. So, like I say, we'll get on with the housework. Here he is! Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, also known as the Mighty Win. He's here! It's like,
yeah, to face the music.
You remember Tiswas when they used to pull him up by the ears? Up by the ears! Something like this. Anyway, let's get on with the show, and then we'll crack on. Welcome to everybody watching across all of the platforms. Thanks to all the mods working in the background. Don't forget, people out there in viewerland, smash that like button if you enjoy the show. It certainly helps us get further as a channel. Subscribe, totally free. Hit the bell for future content. Like I say, you'll get that 30-minute notification to say that we are live. It's never edited, this show. What you hear is what you get. Thanks for supporting us anyway. If you want to support us even more, you can become a member. It's a small monthly fee. That's if you can afford to do so. If you've got a question for either of us in the panel, then put a Q in front of it. But like I said, guys, it's not guaranteed. And we obviously need your support. So if you do want to guarantee it, then throw us a Talk TV Super Chat. Use that $sign, follow the instructions, and that'll guarantee your message read out. And anybody that becomes a member during the show, or anybody that's gifting memberships out there in viewerland, will also be highlighted. And thanks. Gentlemen, interesting mid-morning show from you and the American Mag. It never fails. It never fails to
fails
fail.
or fails.
Yeah, it never fails to fail. To be fair, because it's always a good banter. Hey, again, the Irish contingent on the show as well. Phoning through. Yeah, it's very nice to hear the lads. Before we start. Do you know the only Irishman that doesn't know where Dublin is?
Aye, Shea Given.
Aye, that's the one. Shea Given. That's
Coventry City.
Yeah, indeed. He's behind you. It's pantomime season.
Dion Dublin snuck in from behind him and stuck it in the net.
Yeah, the only Irishman who doesn't know where Dublin is. So what we had one from Belfast and one from Dublin phoning. Lovely to hear from you lads. Across the water.
One from the north, one from the south. No political divide on this channel.
None whatsoever. And I must admit, the Irish contingent in the chat went quite good as well. It was, all of the Irish people out there. So I say, welcome one and all. We do not discriminate wherever you're from. As long as you're a mag, you'll always be welcome. The Mighty Win, after your little bit of a siesta, after this, like say, mid-morning show, are you okay?
I wish. No, I've had some building difficulties at the house.
Oh dear! As you turn one corner, another corner seems to appear.
Yeah, that's it. When one door opens, another door smashes shut.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never hard. I mean, like I say, life it just gets harder, doesn't it? And unfortunately, watching the Magpies doesn't make it any easier. Boaky, how are you, buddy?
Worse.
Well, good, mate. Yeah, really good.
You've had a haircut, mate. You've had a haircut.
Had a haircut, and
he's had his pencil sharpened.
Been putting Christmas trees up all day at work, which is interesting.
Oh, that's sweet. That is. You see, up and around the Midlands, a haircut means you've had your knob scratched. So it depends on where you are in the world before you have to say things like that. Because obviously people see it differently and hear it differently. But that's what that is down here in the Warwickshire West Midlands. So if we... Chris has just sent me a message. There's going to be a little bit of a change from Wednesday because it's Thanksgiving over the pond. So Chris isn't available for the late part of this show. So we'll probably just extend this one a little bit further. That's from Wednesday, though, I do believe. And I'm sure Chris will correct me if I'm wrong. That's today. That is correct. which totally confused me because I'm sat in the studio and I'd refresh the studio thinking, I'm on my own. There's nobody with me. And I'm thinking, am I in the right one? So I put it out there. Am I on me lonesome tonight, lads? And Chris come back. Oh, it's Thursdays, by the way. And I'm thinking, what? It's only Wednesday. And he went, oh, yeah, it's that one. It's that one. So that's what's confused me. I've still got Thursday.
Don't worry, I knew all about it.
Yeah, good lad. So, yeah, it was a strange event last night. And I mean, like I say, I'm listening to you and Chris all this mid-morning, like I say, having a chat about what went wrong, how it went wrong and everything else. And I suppose the only thing I can actually say is I went and watched the game again last night. Everybody had gone to bed by the time we'd finished here. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and watch this again because there's certain things that I want to re-watch to see where we are and how Eddie Howe set up. I'm not sure about some of Eddie Howe's post-match comments. I must admit, I was a bit unsure of where he was coming from. I certainly was unsure the way he responded to the question marks about Nick Pope, where he says, you've got to think of the saves against the Man City. Now, I want to start with the Man City game because if we remember not far back, because it was only, like I say, last week, when we played Man City, Nick Pope did exactly the same, didn't he? He come rushing out of his goal, faced by Haaland, and if Haaland had done what Aubameyang had done, and literally just let the ball run, kicked it past him, there's no way that Pope would have recovered for that either. It was an open goal again. So I think last night was in the weight, if you like. It was one of them decisions where a rush of blood to the head. Eddie Howe said it was a mad 10 minutes. So did Dan Burn. In a game that's been, I suppose, characterised by being, we were in control up until them mad 10 minutes. Now, we all watched it together. I must admit, I didn't think Marseille caused us that many problems. But as the game went on, it seemed as though the next team that was going to score was probably Marseille.
You're talking about first half or second half still?
Well, not so much the first half, but they did miss some chances in that first half. I mean, we could have put the game to bed in the first 15 minutes. You think about the one that was off the line, the header off the line before we'd even scored. Things like that. We could have actually been clear. And when you look at Marseille, it's the Olympic Marseille Stadium is quite an imposing place. There's very few grounds in the world. I mean, obviously South America is totally different, but especially in Europe where you go and you get that feel of, oh my God, and that pressure, if you like. But I thought the lads actually dealt with it really well. And I was, as much as when we were doing the commentary, you lose a little bit of the game when you're commentating because your mind, or mine is anyway, is you're concentrating on the players. You're not really concentrating on individual tactics. You're not really concentrating on, how they're playing and how they're setting up. So I had to go back and rewatch it just so I could come on tonight and give a full experience, if you like, not from a commentary point of view, even though, like I say, it was hard to watch because from the camera side of things, I mean, Chris said in the live watch along, you felt as though you were miles away from the actual ground. So it was very difficult to commentate on without having, everybody's name and number in front of you. So it was easier for me to rewatch and then take an opinion from that. But what I wanted to do from before I get into my spiel or anything else, I just wanted to know, after the air has settled, and we've got the emotion away, because sometimes when the emotion's there, I mean, this channel's been classed a number of times as being the most, negative magpie channel that is out there. I disagree. I think we're just honest. I just think that, there's a bunch of supporters here that want Newcastle to do very well, and we won't sugarcoat it. And I think that is the difference, isn't it? I think there's a lot of people out there that just gloss over the cracks and expect there to be a shiny finish in a couple of weeks.
Well, we certainly don't do that here.
We certainly don't. So go on then, Win. I'm going to start off with you. Dust has settled. You've had your spat this morning. How do you see it now? How do you see the game? How it played out? What was the highs and lows for you?
Well, I thought it was the wrong team selection for starters.
Right. So we changed 3 players.
But I was alone in that. Yeah, but the 3 players are the very 3 players that made all of the difference against City.
Well, I disagree with that.
So you don't think that if Hall and Livramento had started yesterday, we would have played differently?
Well, even if Hall had Livramento, if Hall had started, because Livramento did, you'd have still gone with 5 at the back.
Well, why would you?
Well, because that was his setup. That was his tactical setup from the outset. He went this 5-4-1 system away from home to try and nullify the. Again, it's about the moving of the way Marseille
play. Are you saying when we played City with Hall and Livramento and we played 5 at the back?
No, I didn't say that. I said last night, even with Hall in the side, you'd have still played 5 at the back. And my only concern about playing 5 at the back, I have no issue.
Well, you're assuming that if he'd played Hall, he would have played Burn, Chow and Shea yesterday.
Well, he did.
Technical setup for the match.
That's what I
know he did. I know he did. I wouldn't have done. I would have gone 4-3-3 again, as we did against City.
Yeah. But this is what I'm saying. I'm saying to you, yes, you wouldn't have made the personnel changes, and you wouldn't have done the tactical change. And I think Eddie Howe. This is where Eddie Howe now. I think he's probably a little bit out of his depth, a little bit, right? And I think this is starting to show more and more tactically, because you've just come from a win against a really top quality team, even though they got skanked again by Leverkusen. When I say that, though, they made 10 changes, Man City, yeah, compared to our 3. So what lost us the game? The changes or the tactics?
Well, also you've got to bear in mind that our players didn't play as well as they played on Saturday.
Okay.
They couldn't put 2 passes together. We were saying that right throughout the game. We weren't saying that on Saturday.
No. They carried the ball a lot better against Man City. I totally agree with you. And they delivered the ball against Man City. And yet you're right, against Marseille yesterday, they struggled to get that ball passed. But is it the fact, though, that hold on, let me just go to Boaky and let me get Boaky's point, and then we'll come to my opinion of where we are.
For me, I think I sat here the night before the match and said that I wanted changes. So I'm not going to sit and call Eddie for making the changes that he did and trying to make different in the game in regards to rotating the players. What I do have a problem with is doing it and changing formation at the same time. If we're established in that formation and the majority of the players that he's going to play are used to playing that way, just bring players into the positions that you're going to be changing. Don't do a change of players and the formation as well. But as I say, I'm not going to call him out for doing that. And in regards to the positives from the game, I mean, I suppose it's the first 5 minutes, probably as far as you can go. I don't think there was really any more positives in the game. We never really had control. There was a lot of players just not at the races. Pope especially, I think we all agree that Ramsdale now has to be given a chance in goal. It's the same old in some ways, in that we have a great performance against Man City. All fans are up, and as I've said, it's like a roller coaster with Eddie at the minute. You get that high from that sort of result, then you go away from home and you're on a low. So, but for me, I said, but again on Tuesday, I said the big game's Everton this weekend. So for me, that again, it is Everton now that he has to win, and if he doesn't, then I think the concerns get a lot deeper.
It's an interesting one. Let me just pop this on the screen then, because this is the setup. I'll show it a bit. It won't go any further. So when you look at Newcastle on the right-hand side, with the 5 at the back, Livramento, obviously we were all questioning how he was going to set this team up. And when we saw the four defenders, we all thought it was going to be Livramento right back and Dan Burn left back, with Malik Chow and Shaw in that centre partnership, which again, some people would criticise yay or nay because of Burn being left back. But I looked at this, and my main concern straight away is not about playing players out of position. And the reasons why I say sometimes if I was going to play Livramento as a wing back, I would rather play him as a right wing back. And the reasons why I say that is it's difficult to play left back when you're not that way inclined. The mentality has to shift. Playing left wing back, it's a different entity altogether, because your emphasis should be more on getting forward than it is in that defensive suite. And it's the same with Murphy on the right-hand side. When you look at that right-hand side, the first thing that struck me was Willock's our right midfielder, Murphy's our right wing back. There's no partnership up there. There's no mentality with who's going to sit, who's going to go, who's going to overload on the inside, who's going to go on the outside, things like that. Now, for me personally, Willock playing a right midfield was a breath of fresh air at times. He allowed us to play out. There was some superb balls. I mean, that ball for Gordon, where he should have had a go with his left foot and he let it run across him, was criminal, wasn't it? Absolutely criminal when he'd got a shot at goal. Even if it had gone wide, you'd have at least said, well, you're trying with your weaker foot. Fair enough, I'll let that one slide. But not to even attempt, I think that was criminal in itself.
But how many times has you got to say that Gordon up front doesn't work?
But he keeps on saying we've got a 9. Because when he was questioned in the interview, the post-match presser, he said, was it the fact that you've not got a striker on the field? And he says, we have got a striker on the field. So he sees Gordon as a striker.
Is that not a major issue, though? Because is he watching the match? Is he actually seeing what's happening up front? Gordon is not a major issue.
I mean, like you say, at first he didn't put any challenge at all to speak of.
Gordon is not a striker
on the goal line.
No, Gordon is not a striker. You can see he's less than a striker than even when we've got concerns about Voltemora. At least Voltemora is a goal scorer. Gordon isn't even a goal scorer. He's not. He cannot play that position.
Yeah. I don't have any reservations at all about playing Livramento left wing back, because I think he's when he's played on the left, he's arguably been more effective than when he's been on the right, including going forward.
Yeah.
So I don't have any issue with him playing Livramento on the left. And out of what was available, if you're gonna go with that formation, then Murphy at right wing back is probably the best option you've got available.
But their attack came mostly down that left-hand side. I mean, I thought that the man of the match for me was Weir for Marseille. I thought he had an amazing game. And he caused us no end of problem, because Greenwood went narrow, Weir stayed really out tight. And really speaking, that's what we needed to see from our wing-backs. And you look at their system. I mean, Pavard would often...
As we said, when Dan Burn was playing left-back for us, and what was the game the West Ham game, when Burns, as a left back, Burns' man is Boone, the winger, and Gordon's man in this setup, it's Barnes' man, is Weir. Liveramento is on Greenwood there, effectively, and Barnes should have been on Weir. Well, Weir just had open season. Barnes did virtually no covering back at all.
But I mean, playing 5 at the back, you should always have an extra body anyway, because they only played really with Bacola just sitting off the 10. Really didn't do a thing. I mean, I know people were saying he had a good game. I mean, he passed the ball down to Aubameyang for the goal, but he wasn't really a threat. You know, when you see a 10, some of the really good 10s out there, Bacola wasn't that much of a threat for me. And I thought it should have been an easy pick-off. And when you look at these guys have to win, that was the attitude of De Zerbi. They had to have that mentality to go out there and win. And I think this is why Eddie Howe went with a 5 at the back. The problem is when you go to a 5 at the back and you're playing with players that aren't defensive-minded, and that's why I look at the right-hand side. Straight away, I think we've got a massive issue here. Because you've got Murphy, who isn't a competent defender at all, and you've got Willock, who very rarely likes to come back and defend. It doesn't matter where he plays.
And again, how obvious was that from almost minute one?
Absolutely.
That Murphy was having an absolute stinker.
But that links back to the Gordon problem in that if you're having a stinker, what you need is your striker to be able to take the pressure off a little bit and hold the ball up and, give you those seconds to get your breath back and get yourselves back in position. Gordon can't hold the ball up. It feels to me the reason that he played him there is to shoehorn him back into the team.
Well, again, we talk about favourites, don't we? Are we making a setup and a plan here to try and evidence that these guys must be in the team? And this is where I think Eddie Howe has to make some crucial decisions come the Everton game. And I think this will be the test for Eddie Howe and his longevity, if you like, at Newcastle. Because I think if he carries on with this form away from home, I mean, you've got to think this is it the 3rd or 4th game now we've took the lead away from home and we've actually ended up losing. Is it the 3rd or 4th?
Brentford, West Ham in this.
It's 3 then, and it's got to be at least it's got to be at least 3 of 4 times now. And I have to mention it that Pope's made an absolute clanger, and again he did the same against Man City. That's why I've just mentioned it, and that could have led to a goal, which would have changed the outlook of the game. So for me, the first decision that Howe has to make against Everton is Pope out. I think he's served his cause now for me. A rush of blood, whatever you call it. But when a keeper, who we know isn't good with his feet, is 35 yards out of his goal line, when he's got cover from Chow, and you can see Chow actually calling him and telling him to stay during this play, that set of play where he goes through. And I've got a couple of stills in a minute that we can have a look at. I think this lad is, like I say, he's either void of confidence. And I mentioned you say he's one of the league's best shot stopper. But we know he's no good with his feet. So why is he coming out to try and play with his feet? Or are we going to get into the same Liverpool scenario where he falls on the ball and he gets sent off? Because we know also, I mean, you made the comment the other week, didn't you, when Ramsdale, and you said, if that was Popey, it was nearly the same situation. And Ramsdale come out and chested it. Yeah, exactly. Even though it was, I wouldn't say it was under control from Ramsdale, but he did what he needed to do, and he cleared his lines. So I think that is the first major point that Eddie needs to sort. But and again, I have no issues with him changing the system of play. I have no issues going to 5 at the back. And going to 5-4-1, because you saw that throughout the game. That was the setup. It was never going to change. That's how he went. I like the way Eddie Howe, even with a 5 at the back, went man for man on the press, because that's where our first goal come from. And I think that is Eddie Howe's problem. When you've got a 5 at the back like this, and you've got 4, and I look at these 4 in the midfield, and please, anybody out there, say I'm wrong here when I say this. When you're looking at ball players, and we all know the passing ability of Willock, for me, it's probably the best pass I've ever seen to Isak against Tottenham with the outside of his right boot from the halfway line. Yes, you're absolutely right. But we know it's in his locker against Marseille. You know,
that
ball to Gordon.
Pass to Gordon, to be fair.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. We know he's got it in his locker. He's got a pass in him. Tonali controls the game. We know he's the dynamo. We know he can control a game. Gilmares sometimes makes the risk, but he's got the ability to keep hold of the ball and pass. Harvey Barnes exactly the same. So I looked at this midfield four and I'm thinking, you know what? There's controllers here. Eddie Howe is trying to control. He's trying to quiet the Marseille fans. He's going to slow the game down and he's not going to take it, the intensity, the identity. But I was shocked because the first 5 minutes, it was all out push on, everybody man for man. And like we said, you know, in the build-up, if they make a mistake on the high line, playing out from the back, which Marseille do, we've got a chance of sneaking one here. And we put them under pressure directly from the start. And it was crazy to watch it. And it was great from Dan Burn because Dan Burn playing high up that left-hand side wins the ball back for when Harvey Barnes gets that goal. So it works. That system works. But again, you know, is it the fact that the intensity is our identity? When you go to the places like Marseille, when you've quietened the fans down, when you're 1-0 up, isn't that the time where you start dictating the play? And as you said, Win, why couldn't we pass a 5 to 10 yard ball and control it? Because we looked as though none of us wanted the ball after we scored.
You say that formation's it worked. When's it worked for Gary? That 5 at the back?
It worked yesterday. We went 1-0 up, Boaky.
But we lost.
Yeah,
So
but
it didn't
but
work.
but it did work. It's exactly what that's what I said. It worked because the intensity is his identity. It didn't matter whether you played a 4 at the back. The intensity was his identity. He played a 5 at the back. He went man for man, exactly the same as he would do with the 4 at the back, and you go 1-0 up. My problem is there's a spare man.
That was the first 5 minutes. The rest of the game were awful. So I really don't know how you can say that formation worked. To me, it didn't work at all. We were terrible. And I think the only reason we set up like that was so he could shoehorn again his favourite back in Burn.
Well, tell me where it didn't work then.
Well, we lost.
But tell me why we lost.
We didn't have control of the game.
Well, there you go then. So what I said was intensity is his identity. He has no other way of dealing or going out there to plan a game. When you play at 5-4, the idea is to keep the ball.
And we didn't.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
The formation didn't work because we didn't keep the ball.
Yeah, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. It wouldn't have mattered whether you played a 4-3-3, right? Because your intensity is still going to be exactly the same as 5-4-1, right? Yeah. The problem with Eddie Howe's team, and it doesn't matter who he selects, it doesn't matter if he had 1 at the back and 6 up top. Because if you can't control the ball anywhere around the park and keep hold of it, doesn't matter what formation you put out there, Boaky, you're going to lose.
But I'm saying I don't see how you can say the 5 at the back is working for us. It's never worked for us, really. And as I say, in this game, it definitely didn't work. We lost the game. And I know what you're saying, but you can't say playing that formation was a good thing for us.
But obviously you don't know what I'm saying then. If you, like I said, it doesn't matter whether you play 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 10 at the back, because if you can't keep the ball and pass it 10 yards to your own player, formation doesn't matter, mate.
So how did that formation work for in which case? Just been the question.
Well, like I just said, you got the first goal.
And
you were in control for the first 15 minutes. You could have been 3-0 up.
But then we lost the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because you can't keep hold of the ball.
As the
Howe,
players couldn't pass the ball.
Eddie Howe, the only way Eddie Howe works is to get the ball back in the final third, their third, the attacking third. Doesn't matter what formation you go, and go for goal. That's Eddie's philosophy. Because anything else, Eddie can't deal with. Because none of the players can deal with it. None of them can pass a 10-yard ball.
I think we'll have to agree to differ on this one, but I just don't see how anybody can say that formation's worked when we lost the game and we've played it before and we've never been good at it.
But we beat Man City with a 4-3-3, yeah?
Yeah. We
were good at that, yeah? So it's just intensity, right?
I know it's down to the team and the setup of the team.
No, but it's still intensity, though, isn't it? It's just intensity that gets the ball back.
Well,
it's the endeavour. Yeah.
But in which case, you could just say, well, bung the players on the pitch, tell them to play where they want to play. And,
You've just answered my question, because that's what he's done.
But he hasn't. He's set up with a 3 at the back, and it has a 3.
Well, he set up with a 5 at the back. But what I'm saying is, when you set up this formation, you set up with a formation to control the game. That means slow the game down, get the fans quiet in the stadium, and take the heat out of the game. Because if you can't control the ball, well, you're negative, aren't you? Straight away, when you go defensive with this formation, you're negative. You're on a negative impact. And that's what I'm saying. When I went and rewatched the game, I thought to myself, we should have just slowed the game right down, just kept the ball passing, draw them on, utilise, which is what I thought Gordon would have been utilised for, leave him on the halfway line so it keeps 2 of their players in their own half, and get the ball into the corners. Let Gordon just run for the 50 minutes that he can do and cause them trouble behind, if he can. I understand that. But when I saw the game back, and I'm like, what the heck am I watching here? Because Eddie Howe, from the kickoff, from Marcel's kickoff, and they went negative, they went all the way back. Eddie Howe's players went bang, man for man. You're not passing short from your goalkeeper, because I have got every player in a Newcastle shirt marking every single player on that field. And that's why we won the ball back and we got the opportunities as we did in the first 15 minutes.
And even when we were pressed back, which we were from basically 10 minutes onwards, the chances we created were on the break.
Yeah.
But even when we kept winning the ball back, which we did on numerous occasions, we won the ball back and then gave it away. We couldn't pass a ball 5 yards to our own player so that we could play out of defence. And it wasn't that the players weren't making themselves available, because they were. It was just the passing was absolutely abysmal. And that's down to the players.
But it is if it's one player. When we've had this discussion before, it is if it's one player. But he's rotated, which we asked for. So as I say, I'm not going to call him for rotating. But why rotate and then set the players up in a new formation that they're not used to playing? Why not keep the same formation? So for the last, well, since Eddie came, 4-3-3 has been our identity. Yeah, that's been what we've played against. It's got where we were. It got with 2 Champions League. It got with a cup.
Yeah.
We've done well with it. Why, when he rotates the players, does he also change the formation? So not only are you playing players who haven't played together, you're also asking them to play the players that have played recently to play in a different formation to what they normally do. So you hit double whammy in the team when you're doing it.
Well, I think, I said yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, Eddie made a complete balls up of the game. So we're on the same page in that respect. But the other thing that I was enjoying yesterday was at least we cut out all of the pendulum ball. And every time we did get the ball, we were trying to pass the ball forward. Now, the problem was we couldn't do it. We couldn't land a pass. But we were at least trying to be far more direct than we have been in the past. And that's what I want to see. Intensity and direct football. None of this possession nonsense. Have a go. Go and have a go. And largely that's what we did. But the problem was, as I say, when we kept winning the ball back in defence, we couldn't pass it out of defence.
But is that because we had too many players back? So we had 5 players and 4. As I say, I really...
No, there was numerous occasions where the player in possession sometimes had 2 and 3 options. And more often than not would choose the wrong one. But even when they chose the right one, they couldn't land a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the players had a bad...
I mean, those stats, what was it, half-time when it was 290 successful passes to Marseille.
How does he get so up and so ready for the Man City game at the weekend So every player was pumped and ready for it. Yet we'll go to Marseille where he hasn't got them like that. It's like we're a Jekyll and Hyde team. We'll go away, and the play. And this isn't just the players that came in as fresh. It's also the players that have played all this season. Bruno that was pretty inept in the game. Toon Army wasn't great. I mean, he was better than
They
some
were
of them.
both poor. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Gordon up front is a joke. We've already talked about that.
Yeah,
Barnes
which
didn't
again,
look
I
the
just
same.
can't.
Barnes didn't look
If you're
the
going to
same.
play somebody up front, make it Barnes at least.
Yeah. I don't understand why he can get them so up for some games, but not for other games.
I mean, like I say, you've got to question what Eddie Howe. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I do think players need a rest. You know, you can't expect to play Voltemada all season or until Vissa is ready. I agree with that, but to me, there's a lot more you can do if you haven't got somebody like Gordon. You know, if you haven't got a front man because of Asula, you know, being out. I mean, I'm not sure Asula would have done anything different anyway. But you've got somebody, the likes of Harvey Barnes, somebody who's got a little bit of mentality about him. I'm going to put this on the screen now. Like I say, I can't play a lot of it, but this is before we scored, right? So you can see there's Anthony Gordon, right? And we all said, why aren't you getting involved? You know, you've got Pavard who's heading this ball on the goal line, but surely use a little bit of muscle, you know, to try and just get him away from the ball. Try and get your head towards that ball. At least have an attempt at doing it. And he shied away. It was as if he wasn't really interested. And it makes me wonder whether he doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore because his attitude, wherever he's playing at the minute, like I say, the only game I've seen him have a little bit of out about him was against Liverpool, where he put himself in the shop window a little bit, I would imagine. But he's been absolutely dire. And like I say, last night he certainly didn't cover himself in any glory. I'm just going to move this on just a little bit because obviously, like I say, I can't do a lot. And that's where we shot. And I wanted to put it to here. And the reasons why I said when Boaky was saying like 5-3-3, we didn't 5-4-1, we didn't do anything. I mean, you can see where the lads are now. Every player has gone virtually man for man. If you have a look across the field, there's man for man virtually everywhere. There's no outs I mean, Newcastle have just got the ball back here. Dan Byrne here, I've got my cursor on him, had just won the ball back and passed it inside to Bruno, who obviously recycles it out to Chow. But before that, you can see that every player had got a man. So this is this -5 on the press, on the high. Like I say, your centre-half, your left-sided centre-half is here. You know, your two others, one's here and the other one's there. You got Murphy sitting here and Willock here, right? So again, I look at this and I'm thinking, Eddie Howe's gone for the press, even with a more controlling setup, if you like. And again, this makes me think, are we struggling to set up with any other formation, with any other tactic rather than intensity? Win that ball back or high up the field and then see what we can get out of the turnovers. And like I say, first 15 minutes, I think Newcastle were lucky not to be 2 up, if not 3. And again, we all know what comes from this. It ends up being on this right-hand side. You get a nice run from Murphy, who takes players out, and he's round here. And then a late run from Toon Army. And I thought Willock, bless him, had probably waited on it a little bit too long when he slips the ball into this section here. And we know what happens afterwards. He whips the ball in.
Tony T saying, is this a recorded thing? Because they're not mentioning the chat at all. Well, let's have a mention of the chat. See what
do you mean? I've been putting it up on the screen.
I'll tell you what's wrong with Newcastle United. It's Eddie. He sets the team. No one else. Mercury Dame. I'm starting to think that Boaky's Cardi is part of his background.
He wants to be here. It's freezing.
Tony T says the players no control. You can't keep losing the ball and ever have control of the game. Murphy was terrible, but he didn't seem bothered. His body language was all wrong last night. Tony T, I heard you say the defence has no confidence in Pope. How do you know it's not the other way around? Have you seen the amount of shots he's facing per match? P.S. Pope out for Saturday.
But how many of them shots does he face because of his distribution out from the back?
Good point. We are now a team that reliably loses confidence going 1-0 up, which is bonkers. So there you go. That's the main chat so far. Meanwhile, Gary, where were you?
It is incredible, though, when you think about, you go 1-0 up, and we haven't got the ability to control the game. And that's my point. Intensity is on here, you can see it, but the setup is more for a controlling tactic. It's like slow the game down, keep the ball, and work it. And I think as we progressed, as we got the goal and started to, after 15 minutes, we started getting further and further back, and we played a very defensive 5-4-1. You can't get through us. And to be fair, apart from, threatening Bithead, Aubameyang, missing that header, missing the chance where Pope just went down to his left-hand side. These are saves that you expect Pope to make, type of thing. They didn't really affect us. And that's what I said, for the first half, as bad as it was, because we went negative, because we're supposed to have been controlling, and if the setup had have worked the same way the tactic should have worked, and that's the lads being able to pass the ball 5 or 10 yards, whether it's backwards, sideways or not, that's European football. Sometimes you've just got to take the temperature out of the game. I think it would have been a different way of looking at it. Unfortunately, because we couldn't do what Eddie Howe has set us up to do, and like I say, that all stems down to that 10 minutes of madness, you're chasing the game. And for me...
It wasn't even 10 minutes of madness. It was 2 minutes of madness.
Well, 2 minutes madness, yeah, exactly. Well, for me, though, what happens after that, I have seen all season long. And that's what makes me wonder where Eddie Howe looks to change the game. Because every time we've gone behind in any match, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, when have you seen us try and get back or affect the game in any way or look like we're going to score in any way? Because to me, it just looks confusing. And I watched it again today. Like I said, last night or early hours of the morning. And to me, the biggest problem I find is everything that he did, you can say Marley at right back. I have no issues with any of that. I mean, anybody can play any position if you can pass the ball. I'm just saying, for me, the fundamentals of Eddie Howe at the minute seems to be just go and see what you can do, lads. Like Boaky says, just go and play. Because it's Sunday League football for me. There is no change. Yes, there may be a bit more possession. You said, we're now 50-50 when it comes to possession. You know what I mean? In the last 20 minutes. We have all the possession, but because they're defending, we have no idea what to do with the ball. We didn't make any more chances. So, like I said, it doesn't matter what formation.
We made less chances with more possession.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I'll come back to my point, is the fact that Eddie Howe, unfortunately, hasn't got a plan B, C, D, or anything. It's just intensity. And just go and see what you can work with it. It's just beyond belief, the way you look at this. And you're asking for us to try and make something of the season. And I think he's been very, very lucky, to be still in the top 8. I mean, obviously, results go with us tonight. We stay in there, in the group. But you start questioning. I mean, PSV have just taken the lead against Liverpool. You start questioning whether...
Liverpool had just equalised.
Yeah, 1-1. I'm going to say. But again, you've got to start questioning, if we lose and fail to get through and qualify, which you can't say we will, but it's £160 million we look to lose.
Who's this? Tony T. Hi, Dan Bell. Shut up. I'm internet famous. I don't know who Dan Bell is.
But the problem is, Gary, as well, we've been saying for years now that Eddie Howe's in-game management is poor. And has anybody seen any change in it? No. Has anybody seen him develop at all in that or change anything? And no. He still does the same thing. You can tell if your opposition coach is sitting there thinking, right, wait till 65 minutes because he's not going to bring a sub on until then. And then he brings on the subs that you would think that he's going to do, or he brings on subs that you wouldn't think he's going to do, and the team just changes around. We'll lose formation, we'll lose structure, and we never look like we're going to get back into games. I mean,
Very rare.
when was the last time he had made positive substitutions that took her from a losing position and put her into a winning position?
Yeah, exactly.
You can count on one hand, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, and that is where I start to ask the question now: is Eddie Howe? When you look at the intensity, I think that part of that game for home matches absolutely perfect, and I think this is the bounce, if you like, that you get. It's a perfect bounce of all us fans, if you like, because you go up on the home games because it's usually a great performance. You usually get the results. If the lads are up for it, you usually get that little bit of buoyancy and a little bit of bounce. And then when you go away, you get this opposite effect. So, like you say, you feel like a yo-yo. You feel like you're on a roller coaster all the time because 1 minute you're up as a fan because you can see us going forward. You think the momentum from Man City is going to push you forward and really get you on that track. And then all of a sudden, bang. You're back down to to ground zero again, and you're like, well, where are we here? Because we look null and void of any ideas, and I seriously question now if Eddie Howe is that man to actually move us on to that next level. Because again, you talk about some of his post-match comments, and you have to say to yourself, are you just supporting the players? And to a degree, he has to, but by coming out with the comments that he made, I was just flabbergasted. Supporting Pope after making a mistake. Now, I can honestly say, well, if it wasn't for these saves against Man City, we wouldn't have won that game. What are you trying to say? That's his job. It's like saying you've got a striker there. You've paid, you've just spent 130 million on Isaac, and Liverpool are hunting now for Isaac because he's done absolutely nothing. If we'd spent that type of money on Pope, and don't get me wrong, it was probably the cleverest £10 million Newcastle have spent on Nick Pope at the time. But I think the time has come now to make a decision. And like I say, for me, if Ramsdale isn't in that game against Everton, fingers must start wagging towards where Eddie's going with his team.
But has he not proved this in the past that he won't change things? He doesn't change things. He gets a player in his mind that he wants to play, and they play no matter what. I mean, Byrne's a prime example. Gordon's a prime example.
Hang on.
Prime example.
Byrne hasn't played badly for to be a prime example. When has Byrne ever... Forget the left back.
He's not the best in any position, Win, now. He's not the best player in any
position. As far as I'm concerned, he's still the best left.
But he's not. Centre back. What's he doing with Botman? Why is Botman not in the team? We had Chow and Botman were beginning to set up a great partnership together, and then he drops Botman, and then he doesn't come back in the team. He's got so blinkered on his views, and as you say, Gary, these after match interviews, you can see him thinking about it, and he's going to make a little statement. And he's not going to go in any depth about anything. He's just going to basically make sure he's protecting his players and also kind of make sure he's protecting himself.
I mean, listen, Christina Cage, I understand, who does a job better. She's a fellow Polish girl. I don't know the answer to that. But for me, if we're on this curve, and you look at Ross Wilson now looking at the youngers, the SCR situation where we're at, and we've done a session on that, and maybe we can do another little session on that because now we know where we are. And again, Aston Villa and Newcastle are going to be exactly the same situation as we are under PSR. So it makes no difference changing over to SCR. But for me, what we should be doing is doing exactly what Brighton do. And that's earmarking the next manager to come in if something happens now. It shouldn't. You shouldn't be sacking somebody and waiting 3 or 4 weeks with
completely
somebody.
go along with that.
You know, if the idea now is to give him 2 or 3 games to see where we're at, then you've got to be looking at the next person in. So that's what I'm saying. And again, I want to go back to yesterday's game because, like I say, we've got this is literally direct from the kickoff, and this is our kickoff, right? So this is just before they score, right? And again, I want you to have a bit of a look at where we are on the field. You've got Dan Burn. So from the kickoff, we've gone back, and we know the target man. If it was J7, it'd be J7 up here. We always do it every game. We've got big Dan Burn. And there's a little bit of head tennis, but have a look at the amount of bodies Newcastle. Now we're winning, remember? This isn't us losing the game. We are winning 1-0 up. And look how many players we are committing into the half of Marseille. Yeah? And they've still got bodies
We ain't sitting back.
No. We're not looking at controlling this game whatsoever. It's again, let's get high up that field. Let's throw all the bodies in. And that is the undoing of Newcastle, because the amount of space that's left here, and it's one ball out from this head tennis that happens in this area here. I mean, obviously, I don't know what happens. Bruno goes chasing for the ball, leaves a massive space in behind, and all of a sudden, like I say, Bacola gets one ball, and here's Bacola. You know, this is where he starts from, and he's the one who gets the assist. So let's just move it down a little bit, and there's that ball. So the ball is now being headed by Bruno in towards Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon. And again, this is the challenge that wins them the ball back. And look at how many bodies here in front of us. This is what we want to see with Newcastle. We've said from day one, we don't want them, sitting back. We want bodies in the box. You've got that. You've got that intensity, and everybody's trying to win this ball back. So there you go. There's the header, which he fails, but look at the bodies. Look where Bacola is now. Where is the communication, boys? You've got Dan Burn sitting just in front of Greenwood, but he's that man. So should Dan Burn be here because he's left centre-back? Are we looking at Dan Burn being now? Looking at Weir? He's not going to involve the game. This is the area. Once he's headed that first ball, he should have moved back into this zone here, because then you got your Chow, you got your Shaw just sitting behind Aubameyang, who unfortunately he does leave Shaw behind in a minute. But that's what I'm saying. It's just stupid little mistakes because we're all ball watching. You look at how many people are ball watching. He could have just said, "I'll go inside." Tino. And again, this is why I say when you play players in an abnormal situation, and like I say, left back he does really well because he knows the role. But at left wing back, do I go? Do I stay? Where am I playing? At the minute, he's in between no man's land. He's not picking up Greenwood. He's not picking up Bacola. So who am I picking up? Same with with Dan Burn. And again, who's picking who up? It's just bodies into space looking for that second ball. And again, you move it down a little bit more. And straight away, Weir gets the ball. And you can see Bacola still not being tracked, still nobody on him, still got all the space. Bacola looks at Tonali, and you can see he's pointing to his feet. I'll have it. Next one. There you go. Bacola now he's being tracked. Go on, mate.
Make a point about that last slide. You've got Burn that far forward, and as you see, we've got 2 defenders at the back who are perfectly placed to cover for their one striker. So why are you playing 3 central defenders and having push and Burn back for the pitch? Why don't you have 3 central midfield? Why don't you replace Dan Burn with a better ball-playing centre midfielder? So have Brown instead of him.
Yeah, I agree with you. But again, I know Eddie Howe's comments on that would be.
Bear in mind again, that was from the kickoff. Where
this is from the kickoff.
Deliberately played it back and then hoofed it long.
I'm not saying that you have to take Dan Burn out of the team. You could have swapped him for Chow or Shaw. But what I'm saying is, why play the 3 central defenders and push one of them so far up the field? Why not play with an attacking midfielder in that position?
Because I'm saying it's for that particular manoeuvre, that particular move from kickoff.
I mean,
because
I
J7,
just find...
that would normally be J7, but he weren't in.
But on attacking moves, when we need to defend, we've got plenty of cover there. I don't think we should be particularly worried about the cover there.
I also think one of the reasons Big Dan doesn't go back to cover that space is because, bear in mind, at that very moment that you stop, we are the last team to have headed it. Bruno, the ball has actually gone to Bruno. It's the fact that his header is misdirected when he's got two players to aim at.
Yeah.
Well, Gordon loses the header here. And Vermeeren
all over the pitch.
Yeah, well, Vermeeren here, you've got Bruno here. So that Gordon loses the header here, right? So he drops in front of Bruno and Vermeeren. Vermeeren wins the ball and plays it to Weir. Then Weir plays it through to Boaky. And you can see Bacola here just on the turn. Again, he's looking for this channel ball. And you can see, Tino's now thinking, this is going to go over the back of me. I can see Bacola. He's starting to move away. But again, for me, look at the bodies committed inside in a line. It is criminal, mate. There's no shape to this team whatsoever. And that's why I go back to Boaky's comment before. It doesn't matter what system you play when you're playing in lines like this, parallel lines, because you can play 10 up top. In parallel lines, you can't. There's no out ball, mate. There's no pass lane. There's one square ball here, and there's 5 players, and 6, 7, 8 players in the system. So, like I said, 3 of the players, if you like, you can't even pass a ball to. And that was Newcastle's situation all through the game. And it's been the Newcastle situation at every away game. We become parallel lines. And then you try and pass a ball through players rather than around them, going square or diagonal. And like I say, one out ball. There you go. There's the out ball. And again, it's Tonali. He's took out 4 players here. Now, I said Harvey Barnes against Man City played one pass to Bruno, took out 4 Man City players. Well, the shoe's on the other foot, mate, because now all of a sudden, one pass has taken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. And that is how serious Newcastle's tactic was. It wasn't easy to watch that second half without saying, you have got something seriously wrong going on with this squad, when all you can play is intensity in a balanced defensive lineup. Because, again, everybody commits themselves forward. Everybody's trying to press. But the out ball, this is the channels that you've got to start cutting off. Who's marking who? There's nobody picking anybody up here. And then, obviously, we come down the field of play, and you can see, that one ball, Chow is going to put... I mean, if I just draw a circle here and say to Pope, that's where you should be, mate. Just there. Yeah? Because he's going wide. Malik Chow is going to just cover, just going to stay on the inside position. And what he's going to have to do is wait for these 2 guys to come and join him in and around the box, by which time we should have bodies covering you anyway. Not a problem. But no, he doesn't. Rush of blood to the head. I'm quicker than I look for a tall boy. Gets nowhere near it. And like I say, great finish, if I'm honest with you. Absolutely excellent finish from Aubameyang. I'm going to take nothing away from that lad. I think he did excellent on the finish. But again, what was evident for me was even when we have control of the ball, the problem is I want to go gamble rather than control. I'll gamble what I've got rather than control it. And I think, unfortunately, that is Eddie Howe's mantra. And I apologise if anybody thinks totally different, but that's my opinion. And like I say, I'm just seeing it as I see it.
So on that note,
yeah,
and let's say we're all agreed that Eddie hadn't got a plan B, so we're going to get rid of him. And you're saying that the board should already be planning for that and have in place who's going to be the next manager.
If that's their plan, if Piff is looking into that, yeah.
So let's assume we are another club.
Okay. It's hard to do.
In the same position that we are in. And we are looking for a manager to take over. Who's going to be one of the top names. If we sack Eddie Howe, who's going to be one of the top names on their list?
Well, you again, I go back to players or coaches at the minute that are doing a great job. You've named a few to say that you wouldn't mind. The Ariolas at Bournemouth. Did you know him before he went to Bournemouth?
Not a lot of them, no.
Well, there you go. And that's what I'm saying.
But I mean, he'd had success.
No, but this is where PIF have to do their due diligence.
Yeah.
And they have to go and vet the person rather than just go for the name. Because I think it's easy to go and pluck, Marino or whatever you want to pick out. Just get a person in who's got some credit in the bank already because he's got a name. He's got a pedestal to stand on. They've got to vet this next guy to come on board and do a job for us, not just grab a name. Sorry, Boaky, what was you saying, bud?
I was just going to say, I think you're right. Howe would go in somewhere else quite easily, probably, but at the level that we're at. But he would go in with fresh ideas for them players. I think the problem is at Newcastle, everything's just went stagnant. He's obviously not getting his point across two players at times. Otherwise, we wouldn't be playing the way we're playing. So you're right. He would go in somewhere else and do a good job at first, and hopefully he'd learn from his Newcastle experience in regards to in-game management and the other sides that we know that he needs to learn on. But I think with us, he's just went really stagnant in the role. He's not changing anything.
Yeah,
it blows my frock up when when you hear all the chatter saying no top club would go anywhere near Eddie Howe because it's nonsense. There's lots of top clubs would love to get Eddie Howe.
A top club wouldn't go for him. If you're talking top of the Premier League club, a top of the Premier League club won't go for him. Like if Man City, if Pep left Man City or Slot gets sacked at Liverpool, Eddie Howe's not going to end up at them clubs.
I mean, you always get that 5-game bounce. That's fact. That's under all the analysis and everything else, you get from the players a 5-game bounce, and what that means is they're all out to impress the new gaffer. So they'll all give you that little bit of extra just to get the name on that shirt. Some it works. The gaffer always favours certain individuals. It makes no odds who your name is. The gaffer will always pick you. And the reasons why I think Eddie Howe needs to start being a little bit more with the kahunas. And I go back to Pep, and I'm not putting Pep on a pedestal here. Yeah, I've got your bloody thinking again, mate. Yeah, exactly. I'm not putting him in I'm not putting him on his mantle, right? He's there, right, because of his background. But what he showed Man City when he come in, Joe Hart was having a cracking season. Remember, he was one of the players that had shone massively. Not under Pep. He wanted a ball-playing goalkeeper. Didn't matter who your name was, you're not my keeper. And he was gone. And, I'm not saying he was right in doing so, but what I'm trying to say to you is he gave them the notification of the type of player and the style of football that he wanted to create. I don't see that at the minute because, like you say, you're seeing two different teams trying to play the same way, but it's never going to work the same away from home, especially at a place like Marseille, as it is at St James's Park. And I think sometimes with Eddie's tactics and his coaching ability, and like I say, and we know he's still learning the trade, but 4 years in now, you've got to start saying to yourself, how much has he still got in this bank before you start going overdrawn?
What do you reckon, Tim?
Yeah, right, lads. Couldn't resist.
Hey, Timo. Oh, it's nice to see you, buddy.
Nice one. Cheers. I've listened to a lot of what you have said, and I agree what you're saying. That like the first 15 minutes, it wasn't a disaster in that we should have been 2 or 3-0 up with the way we were pressing and the chances that we had. So if we'd scored those goals, then the game plan could well have worked. But like you say, when that doesn't work, the following 15 minutes or so, we're slowly but surely lose more and more control. more and more ground, um, and there's no plan B that way, and we couldn't keep the ball, and we're getting penned in and penned in. Like I said, it wasn't the first 15 minutes. I'm not going to be blinded and think that we were a disaster the whole half. I do think we pressed them well to begin with, and I think they were a bit surprised. And I think that, everyone that stadium were probably a bit taken back, like, "Whoa, they've came here to kind of like go for us." So I will give credit for that, and Willock did some good things, and I was surprised he was in the team. But to be fair to him, he did do well in that first half, I thought. But losing more and more control as the half went on. Like you say, there was no kind of plan B, some sloppy passes, and then obviously Pope does what he does, and you kind of it goes to pot from there. And I mean with Gordon as well, just to bring it back to him, like I'm repeating what others have said, but first of all, he's not a striker, obviously. Second of all, I don't understand why Eddie Howe is still persistent with that notion. And during that game, that one off the line, I know he's not a physical player, but could Gordon not have jumped for that to make it difficult for the defender to head that off the line? Like just little things like that. Like with Gordon, I find it strange, and there was instances where he wouldn't really run for the ball. I haven't watched it back, to be fair, but my gut instinct tells us that there was balls that he could have got and he didn't really want to go for. So this whole fixation, I mean, with Gordon, okay, I was saying before the game, just play him, just to get him up to speed, but do not play him against Everton. Just get him some minutes under the belt for this one, because you have to rest Baltimore. There's no option, really. You have to give him a break. But I would have had Barnes up front more often than not during the game. So, and just with rotation as well, like, you've got Bruno and Tonali. They played 90 minutes against Man City. They played 90 minutes last night, I believe. They weren't taken off for that. Them two.
Who's
So,
that? Sorry,
Bruno and Tonali.
Bruno and
no,
Tonali, yeah.
still 90 minutes, yeah, mate.
Right. So I'm assuming they're going to be expected or asked to play 90 minutes against Everton. So for me, once again, we've got the 3 games in this week, and those 2 play. I know Joe Linton was rested, but those 2 players are going to be playing 90 minutes again in 3 games. And I know you say, "Oh, but the 2 best players, you can't take them out, otherwise we'll fall apart." What were they like? What was Tonali like setting off? He couldn't stop giving the ball away, I thought. Do you know what I mean? Like there was it's not the be all end all if they're in the team or not. If you put Miley into that team, you know what? It's a chance for him to shine, and he might well step up. You've got to give him a chance to show his worth. And then against Everton, you've got a fresh Tonali or fresh Bruno or come into that side with, you know what I mean, kind of that sharpness that they should have after having that week's rest. And now those 2 players are going into that game. I thought they were knackered in that game anyway. I thought they were running through quicksand in that game. So now they're going to be going against Everton, mentally low, physically probably a little bit drained, come the 60th minute against Everton. And for me, I don't want Joe Linton in that game. I would have played Joe Linton against Marseille, because you've got that box-to-box game against Marseille where you want his lung-busting runs to cover the ground. I don't want him against Everton where you've got to unlock the door, where Everton, a good side, but they will probably sit deep at times. That's where I want Ramsey in the side to unlock the door.
But do you think then, I mean, like I say, J7, he can't do 3 games in a week, can he? So,
No, I wouldn't have played him. I would have played him last night and then just rested him against Everton.
but are we looking now at what the medical team are talking about? We know there's been a bit of a shift with Stevie Bunsen involved now. So do you think it's more the fact that they're having medical advice on these players now, coming into the the helm and saying, "This is how we are at the moment. He's not going to be the same player as we played against Man City on Saturday evening. So leave him until we play Everton. He'll be okay for Everton." Do you think that's swaying the decisions of Eddie Howe?
If it is, then that's like a different story, and I'll kind of give total leeway on that. You've got to go with the medical advice that way, and the last thing we want to do is just burn players out and ignore that medical advice. So if that's what Bunsen and Co have said to Eddie Howe, then okay. I think you've got to accept that. But it's also not just about the medical side in terms of like injuries and maybe carrying knocks and leaving for this game. It's also that sharpness. And
Mm.
like I say, with Tonali and Bruno, um, they were poor at times in that game where the were. I mean, don't get us wrong, Bruno played some nice passes, so did Tonali at times, but there were other times where they were given away really cheaply, and I
Mm.
thought it looked really leggy. So it's not necessarily about just injuries; it's just about that sharpness.
Yeah.
And I'd want one of those just to be completely sharp for that Everton game coming up, which is so important. And I would have just played Miley, certainly, against Marseille. And okay, if you're going to play Joe Linton against Everton, then play Ramsey against Marseille. And allow one or both of those two players that I've mentioned, Bruno and Tonali, to be fresh against Everton.
Uh,
I don't think it's just physical strength and physical attributes either on the pitch. It's also about the mental side of it. And if these lads are playing week in, week out, it'll start to play in their minds. I think I've not
Yeah,
had a rest lately. I'm tired. So it's not necessarily that they're physically tired. It could just be that they're mentally tired. You know yourself that if you work behind a computer for a lot of time, you get
mm.
tired, and it's the same if you're doing that sort of job when you're constantly thinking. It's the mental side of it as well. So yeah, I think it's not just about physicality; it's also about their mental health, and also obviously just making sure they're not mentally tired.
Yeah,
yeah.
Tim, I was going to ask you. We had. Sorry, when was you going to say something, dude?
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, mental awareness comes into the game. Obviously, it does. But Bruno's on record as saying he doesn't want to be rested. That he would consider it rest and he'd consider it dropped, more or less.
I get that win, I get that, but the proof's in the pudding. And to me, even last night, I thought he looked leggy.
Yeah, well, I don't know about leggy. I didn't see any lethargy there at all.
At times it looked like you were running.
I just thought, they were poor again.
It might
And
just be what.
they often are.
But I
Too often.
admire that
Oh.
attitude. I do admire that attitude from Bruno. I wouldn't want it any other way. I think it's great that he's like that. I'd want him to carry on having that attitude. But it's up to Eddie Howe to say, I
Yeah.
love it there, but I'm the gaffer and save the energy for Everton and go out there, fire it up by all means. But I am going to put me flag in the sand here and just rest you.
Tiny Vivid saying it's mentally exhausting for Ramsdale to watch Pope making mistake after mistake and Botman watching Burn play also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, doesn't it? I mean, at times we are. But like I say, I was going to ask you, Tim. You was talking about Ramsey there. I mean, I thought that would have been one of the inclusions, if I'm honest with you, into the midfield yesterday. A little bit strange to see Willock start. Also strange to see him on the right side of midfield, more or less a winger, or the old right midfield, if you like. Did okay, if I'm honest with you. I thought Willock, possible links to. I said it like Sean Connery then. Possible. Links
Fulham.
to Crystal Palace. No,
Oh,
Crystal
Palace
Palace.
as well.
Yeah, Crystal Palace seem to be marking him, and obviously that could be the reason or the intent while they're going for this Smith lad from AZ Akmar. But for me, I thought he's shown a little bit out there on that right hand side yesterday. I love that part when he came in deep and got the ball around about the 25-yard mark outside his own area. He was being closed down, I think it was by Emerson, and he lets the ball just roll past him, and he goes on that blazing run past the halfway line, up that right-hand side, and delivers an absolute sweet ball into the edge of the box for Anthony Gordon, who, like we said, just doesn't put his left foot through it at all and lets it roll across him, and the chance goes awry. But, for me, he was showing glimpses of doing something on that right-hand side. Was you shocked to see him included, especially on that right-hand side?
I was really surprised because, like you say, I thought if there's somebody going to be coming in, from the cold, if you like, it's going to be Ramsey.
Especially replacing Joey Linton.
Exactly. But I think we didn't realise at the time that it was going to be this formation. So, but like you say, I think Willock he's not the future, is he? You know what I mean? So like going forwards, it's a case of using him while he's here, when we can, if we need to, getting the best out of him, and then selling him on, whether that's January, whether that's at the summer. I mean, I understand a lot of fans kind of giving up on him, if you like, at the start of the season. But he came in last night and he did do a lot of good things. So you've got to give credit there, where it's due, in that he may well actually be a useful squad player from now till when he leaves the club. Fingers crossed he keeps that up. But ultimately, with Ramsey, if Ramsey doesn't play against Everton, even though Willock did well at times against Marseille, you've got to kind of wonder why you've paid 40 million for Ramsey if he doesn't play any substantial minutes in these 3 games that we've had in this week.
Yeah, so you see, the interesting thing, I suppose, and I'm just going to finish the point quite interestingly on. Connor's just sent me a chat, and I'm going to highlight this. We are going to get to the chat straight after this. Interesting thing, Eddie has spent £100 million on Ramsey and Alanga, and yet he wants to play Steve Bruce's players, Willock and Murphy, and he talks about trust. Is there something behind that? Or is it literally just getting, like you said, or is it just about getting players to rotate, getting minutes in legs? Because again, it's a long season. Everybody has to be match fit.
I think it might be, but just to say, I think it might be because I think the likes of Willock and obviously Murphy, they know Eddie Howe's demands inside out. They know whether he wants them to run, how to press, where to be on different patterns of play. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's an element of that where Eddie Howe knows those particular players, whatever you think of them, are going to be able to follow his instructions tactically. And it's a case of getting the others up to speed, which I think is again, a bit too conservative.
Anything you guys want to add on that particular note before we get into the chat?
Do some chat first. Christina Cade, surely they should be able to play whatever formation they are asked to.
Good point.
And might as well keep having a go, because trying to defend a 1-goal lead has backfired on us 27 times out of 10. And no, that's not a typo. In other words, always.
2 seconds, lads.
Being sloppy in possession isn't down to Howe. Howe's not a hypnotist. On the pitch, it's down to the players at the time.
I agree, Big.
That's from Big Nick. Tim, is that you, Tim?
Yep.
Bruno Tonali played 90 minutes. Probably expected to play 90 minutes against Everton. They both looked gassed last night. Toon Nut, Byrne playing left back has a bad effect on the team compared to playing Hall. We look far superior with Hall at left back. I think we'll all agree with that. This hype for Botman over Byrne is crazy. He's just flavour of the month because everyone's in a fettle with Byrne because he's been unfairly played in the wrong position. Byrne's been poor lately, but Botman hasn't been any better. God help us if Chow gets injured.
Good point.
Flash in the pan Gordon, one-trick pony like Miggy, gets found out after 1 season.
Interesting one.
Tangy Vivid, at least Miggy gave 100%. I think that was in reply to a comment saying, is such and such any better than Miggy?
Yeah, they had that in the chat last night, didn't they? You know, it was like, you know, who would you rather have, Miggy or Elanga? Because like I say, Miggy gave you 100%. You might not got the final thing, but at least he tried. He just, like I say, this present moment in time. I mean, like I say, when Elanga come on, he had that one opportunity, didn't he? So the lads were still going for it. And on another day, they could have come out with at least a draw there. But again, it's little and often rather than a lot, especially when you play this type of tactics.
Steve Waldo saying, Howe had a couple of opportunities to put this right. Get Wisser on the pitch in the January window after that, he's struggling to keep his job. So he's saying he's got the season effectively,
Yeah.
including the window. Rafa knows the club, gets the fans as an interim option, even until they get the manager they really want. Where do we stand on that one?
Not for me at his time.
Too defensive for me, Rafa. Especially when you've gone out with this intensity as your identity type of player. I think going into a totally different
180.
defensive-minded, you know what I mean, character, you're going to get... Well, again, you're going to have to lose players to bring players in to do that style of play. And I'm not saying Rafa is a poor manager. I'm just saying, he again, he's more of the conservative rather than the offensive type
So
of manager.
does that same narrative not apply to Mourinho in that case?
Well,
does to me.
yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have gone for Mourinho anyway.
No.
But I mean, again, you know, he's second in the league. When you look at all-time performers on 60-odd% win ratio, when you've got that type of win ratio, you can't knock his elements of style of football. But you've still got to have the players to deliver that style of football.
I mean, I do like Rafa. I love Rafa for what he did for us. I know he's a bit pragmatic and stuff, but I think even on a temporary basis, that would be too much of a 180 to go from what you've been used to, what the players have been used to with Eddie Howe, to what Rafa would want. But this is why I mentioned Iriola, to be honest, because that would be as smooth a transition, in my opinion, as you could potentially get, because they are quite similar in how they play.
Interesting point from Gavin here saying Eddie is confused. He's been saying for over a year we are moving to possession. But Wissa, Alanga and Ramsey are all tradition players, i.e. not bringing the correct
Why not
players
bring
in
the play? Yeah.
to fit a new way of playing.
Do you guys see Eddie's overall strategy with this squad now? What he's trying to build, or how he's trying to make we play?
I think what you've got in Eddie Howe is a fantastic home manager. I think what you fail to get from Eddie Howe is somebody who can oversee an issue. You know, it's like we all said yesterday. First 15 minutes looked comfortable, and then when we started to get further and further pushback, because once Marcel went behind, they had to come out. They had to start making a move forward. And when we're saying yesterday, it's not that we're playing bad; it's because they're playing really well. I think we allowed them to have far too much ball. We showed them far too much respect, gave them far too much space. And then when they did make a couple of bad balls, and they did do that, Marcel, they weren't that clever. What we did once we got the ball is not retain it. Not take the heat out of the game again. And that's what I said. For me, we are far too quick thinkers. And again, this must come from Eddie. It doesn't come from players to play this way. If you're being trained in the small pocket of space that Eddie has got in this window between games to go out there and coach, it's like this 5 at the back. We're asking 2 players that don't play in a regular position, which are wing backs. You've got 72 hours to train in this position and be worldies. It's not going to happen. That's what I said. You might as well have gone back to a 4-3-3, played your normal style of football, and even then, get your 2 wide men if you want to, just to drop in and play that 4-5 to stop the passing lanes. If that's what you wanted to do and hang on to something. But no, he goes with a completely different setup. And again, I have no issues with a change of formation, none whatsoever. But you have to have players. And that's why I said to Win, if you're going to play Lewis Hall and you don't want him to be running left to right, back and forth, then play him as a wing back, halfway up there with decent cover behind you. Now, whether that be with Byrne, Botman, it doesn't matter. As long as you've got somebody who can just slide into that left back position if Hall's caught short going forward. It's about playing as a unit, and then you just drop into a 4. And you can see that elements of the game. But what I couldn't see, and I've just showed you a prime example from their goal, where all of the mentality is about trying to win the ball back, scramble for that second ball, and then, recycle the ball in an open space. And that's why you get Willock on that right-hand side being all on his own. Not affecting the game, it's a gamble, and that's what you have to do as a coach. But when you've got 4 or 5 players marking fresh air or in a straight line, then you start questioning where are you going to go with this ball if you get it, because there's
Gary,
no out ball. Go on, mate.
well, on that point, right? You were saying earlier about the press, and you were saying
Yeah.
that we were going man for man at the start, and that intensity being the identity, and it's kind of that way or no way. And when that doesn't work, we kind of fall apart. So then, obviously, you're saying later on in the half we're giving them too much space. Do you think it's a case that we are showing so much intensity with that press, going man for man, that inevitably we're not able to maintain that? And then it means that we do drop off, like you say, and give the opposition too much space. Do you think that's the case, or do you think we're not pacing ourselves properly? Or
I mean, when you think about it, right, Eddie Howe must have set out some type of a tactic for, I would say, minute management, okay? And it's very hard to do this minute management if that's what he's done. Again, I have no insight to the way Eddie Howe coaches. But sometimes what you get after 72 hours of rest, with your training in between time, what you do is you'll set benchmarks. Go and get a goal, or try and put them under a bit of pressure. Let's quieten the crowd down. And I always say it's usually the other way around. You usually sit off for the first 20 minutes, let them expand the pitch, if you like, and you just tuck in, and you then just block everything. And then once they start slowing down, you go on the counter. And the problem with Eddie, like I say, is a one-trick pony to a degree, because when you see us from the off, go and win that ball back, potentially could have got 2 goals. And when you can't get 2 goals, then I'm all for closing the pitch off, but not marking or defending your 18-yard box. That's just allowing them to keep coming and coming and coming. And before you know it, what you've got is a back 4 or a back 5, as we were yesterday. Then you're 4 in midfield, and all you do is block each other's lines. So nobody then, and when you do get the ball back, there's no out ball because everybody's right on top of you. So, I mean, Anthony Gordon was like 4 or 5 yards away from his midfielders. So again, I don't know what Anthony Gordon was doing, because he certainly wasn't pressing the ball. So what is the point of him being there? Like I said, you might as well have said to Anthony Gordon, don't drop back, go and stand the halfway line, because you take 2 defenders away. You know what I mean? Or you'll take a midfielder and a defender away. It always makes the coaches on the opposition, or who you're playing against, make a change. And that's where Eddie Howe, for me, becomes totally ineffective, because he just wants all the players to chase the ball. And unfortunately, guys, if you've ever played at a decent level, chasing a ball tires you out twice as quick as having the ball at your feet. You'll run all day with the ball at your feet, but you'll never ever do that when you're just running against fresh air, because your mental pressure is far outweighs the physical pressure of having the ball at your feet. So for me, it's a case of trying to do something different, but you can't keep playing this intense football. Not when the lads have played 72 hours.
You can't be Tangy Vivid is saying we are looking at 3 game weeks until February most weeks. It's scary with a manager who is clueless with team rotation and picking his favourites.
Well, let's have a listen to what Eddie Howe said on that. Go on then, do this one, mate.
That's the next goal. Larskin Cog from Scandinavia, presumably, evening Lars, is watching how we start every other second half. I'm pretty sure our management are administering heroin to our players mid-match. And Gavin is saying Maley, I think. Maley will have to leave like Anderson to grow. And he doesn't develop younger players. Could Neve not do a better job?
We'll never know.
Than that fraud. I don't know whether he's on about Sean Neve there or...
Yeah. I think
Sean Neve do a better job. Well, he certainly couldn't done a worse job than what Gordon did yesterday, that's for sure.
No, exactly. Right then, let's have a listen to Eddie Howe's post-match interview straight after the game.
Eddie, your team worked so hard for you out there tonight. Is there any more you could have asked from them?
No, I thought the effort was good. I think the start of the second half obviously was a big one for us. Some 15 minutes at the start of the second half I thought cost us. I thought we handled the atmosphere really well in the first half, and even towards the end of the game, I felt there were chances for us to score.
When you've worked so hard, does it make returning home without anything just that little bit more difficult?
Yeah, definitely frustrating. I thought we stuck to the game plan pretty well. The whole game, which was sort of 10-15 minutes of madness, start of the second half has cost us. So, yeah, definitely disappointing to come to a team like this, in a stadium like this, atmosphere like this, and put all that in and not come away with anything. Yeah, it's disappointing.
Well, I think the goal straight away, near enough after half-time, changes the whole feeling around the stadium and the game itself, and it was just a lapse of concentration from our perspective, I think, and then we didn't maybe react well enough to that. We conceded the second, and from there it was difficult.
Mentally, didn't sort the second half as well as we wanted to, and I think obviously Aubameyang, 36-year-old, but still sharp and can still finish and showed his quality today. And I think that's when you go 2-1 down and you've got to break them down away from home. It's tough. As I said, I think it was an actually pretty good performance, but key moments cost. I think we had chances that we should have scored and didn't capitalise on them. And then obviously 2 goals, very disappointed.
Yeah, I find that a little bit interesting because obviously with TNT, they've mixed it up. I was going to say, he's very interested to see Dan Burn and Eddie Howe morph into each other halfway through the presser. Talk about being a favourite. They're virtually sitting on each other's lap there. But I find that really incredible. You know, when you say it was a lapse of concentration, you've just come out after your half-time talk, you're 1-0 up. Your half-time talk should surely be, right, lads, don't go pressing. Just sit, wait for them to come on, and then try and counter behind them, right? And as we've seen, as I've shown you, from the kickoff, we go gung-go with 8 bodies going forward. The ball gets headed into space, and Bacola gets the chance to play a pass behind us. So when he says we lose concentration, that worries me because I keep saying to myself, what was your half-time talk then? Was it still press? Was it still to go and get a second goal?
Why
because
wouldn't it be?
But I think
because you're not controlling the game.
But I think,
but if you remember the first 5, certainly the first 5 minutes, and then the 15 is exactly when we were most effective against them.
You're right.
So why not say let's do that again?
Because we were 0-0 at the time.
But I don't think we were sort of. There was an issue with the way the team was set up at that point. The issue was Pope having a mad moment and rushing that far out the goal. So if you look at it, we had plenty of cover.
Can I just read these 2 comments? These are brilliant.
We had cover.
2 seconds, Win.
But,
go on, Boaky. Carry on.
We had the cover, but Pope had a mad moment. So I think when they're saying about the mentality and things, it basically they're saying Pope had a brain
they're pointing the finger. But all I'm saying to you is, you're straight from the kickoff, aren't you? Yeah, you what you're doing there is gambling. You're playing Russian roulette, mate, with a loaded gun because you're saying, let's just hoof the ball forward and hope it falls to a blue shirt. Where what you should be saying is, let's just keep the ball, draw them on and try and beat them on the break. Let's get them turned facing their own goal. You play far too many pressure balls and 50-50 balls when it's in the air because then it's competed by 2 players and it could fall anywhere. And unfortunately for Newcastle, when sometimes it falls in our favour, which it has done in the past, it also falls against you, which it does all the time when we're playing away mostly. And that's what I'm saying. The way Eddie Howe sets up for away foot performances, he has to change this mentality, this way of playing, because until you start blocking them shots at goal, before you start competing as a team defensively as a unit, you'll never win a game ever away from home. 1 goal changes the whole outlook of the game.
As Ashington is saying, the players in Eddie are in denial about playing bad. They think it's 99% good. But Janusz is the pick of the night so far for me. Our A game is a thing of beauty that very few teams can cope with. Don't expect Rolex precision when you're using Casio parts. I think that is fantastic,
Fabulous.
Janu.
Yeah.
I will be using that.
Yeah, he's writing that one down, you know. I hope you got your... you get 50%
You
commission.
need to get it copyrighted.
But like I said, I am all for Eddie Howe's way of working at home because I think at St James's Park, it's a different animal. It's very similar to what you got there last night, you know, very intense, very in your face type of atmosphere. But away from home, you have to control that 12th man. You have to have the ability to control that 12th man.
Gary.
And your players, I thought, did it well in the first half. I thought the lads did really well to combat what was thrown at them, limited the chances. But to go and commit suicide in the first, literally 12 seconds of the second half, I think that is criminal.
I think you're spot on, Gary, in that it totally reminds us of the previous away games where we've mentioned before about managing the environment and not encouraging the home crowd. It only takes moments here and there for the home crowd to get up the pitch in a corner, whatever, and the momentum then swings, doesn't it? You know, mentally, and I think we seem oblivious to that. And back years ago, that seemed to be more understood. You know what I mean? And it's not negative, but it's just managing the game where you're like, okay, don't give the crowd anything to cheer about. Do a few kind of the dirty work here and there first, more than anything else, and then we can play our football. But let's just keep it solid. And it sounds cliched, but a lot of the cliches are true, and this is true when it comes to what we're saying. And that I think when Eddie Howe is asking them to go full pelt, regardless of as to where you're playing and the type of game it is and the type of crowd you're playing, etc., then I think that is a lack of game management, unfortunately. And with Nick Pope, with that goal, look, I think Nick Pope, he is a super keeper, and he sees himself as a super keeper, regardless what he's like on the ball. He sees it just clearing the ball. You know, he's not going to do anything fancy. He just wants to sweep up so that we can push up. And I think he's looked at it and he's just totally misjudged it. And I think one of you said as well against Man City. I was going to mention that yesterday. I totally forgot because when you look at the Man City incident, obviously if Haaland puts that in, everyone's like, there you go again, Pope again.
Mr. Sweeper Keeper.
Exactly, and he's totally misjudged it. And so
let me just stop you on that point now. Hold on, Tim. If that wasn't at the start of the game against Man City and it wasn't the first or second touch that Haaland had, do you think Haaland had scored if it was, say, in the 15th or 20th minute?
Certainly more chance he would have scored. But
yeah, when he's been more flow of the game. I think that and it suited Popey at the time because it got him out of jail with him still being a bit rusty and a bit, I haven't had a touch of the ball yet. So I think he snatched at that chance, Haaland, rather than what he would do normally and let the ball roll past him.
Yeah, and I like a sweeper keeper. I want a sweeper keeper, really, because it does allow you to push up. But when Pope is misjudging it this badly, this often, you've just got to take him out the firing line, you know? And there's nothing, you're not saying he's like the worst player we've ever had, but he just needs a break. And I think you see it against West Ham, against Brentford. I just think that was certainly the time just to take him out the team and give Ramsdale his chance. And we've had this game now. It's cost us again, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens against Everton because surely Ramsdale will play. I know Eddie Howe is kind of like persistent with some of these players, and I understand to a degree with some of them, but surely it's Ramsdale for Everton.
It should be. Andy, go on. You look like you're poised to say something there.
With this as well, though, this has been all season now. Has anybody seen any changes in waveform or how Eddie's changing things around for with the waveform?
But it's not been just this season, though, mate.
No. I was trying to be a bit kind to him and not last season. But no. But if we just go off this season, has anybody seen anything to show Eddie's going to turn this around? Because I haven't seen any difference in any game. I haven't seen where.
Listen, I know Eddie. Eddie will be naive, right, in the European competitions because he's fresh to it. He hasn't got the teeth that a lot of the managers that he's up against, but they've been there, in multiple clubs. Even as a player, you think the competition you're playing in Champions League, European Cup competitions as a player, you understand what that entails. He's not done that. Eddie Howe, it's like me going in and doing a job in the European competitions. He'd probably get the same bloody results, probably even worse. But you know what I'm saying? He's going in with this mentality of the intensity will get you out of jail, and it doesn't.
But
You
it
know,
hasn't
the
worked. What's he done to change that, Gary? He hasn't.
Well, he hasn't. That's what I said.
So-
It works at home
Uh-huh.
against European teams, but it will not work the same at away competitions. I mean, against Union, yeah, because they're you're never going to see the likes of Union SG do major things. But you're going to come up against teams, like I say, one goal. Once we gave them that outlet through Popey's mistake, there was only ever going to be one other team score a goal, and that was Marseille, because they're up. They've got
By the way, that's the same.
everybody's
That's
up
the
again.
same USG that beat Galatasaray last night, who were 2
1-0,
places
yeah.
above us in the Champions League.
Yeah.
When let's
1-0.
not use other teams to sort of like their games to justify Eddie Howe. This
Yeah, but
season-
but you also said, Win, that USG were poor.
They were poor. Huh?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You've got to count. I mean, PSV have just gone in the lead against Liverpool 2-1.
I just don't see the point in that. At this point, Eddie hasn't changed anything. As you say, it does go back to last season, but I'll just use this season. There's no improvement shown. There's no development of that of his style of playing away games. It's got to be time that you're starting to think, can he change it around? And if he can't, why we're holding on? Why don't we just bite the bullet and say, look, you've been great for us, thank you very much, but we need somebody who can come in and sort this out.
Because on that basis, you're basing your whole sample on 6 games. By the way, three of which we did okay in, and all.
Simon, I'll go back to last season as well. This isn't just this season. This is an ongoing issue. So you can't use the same thing.
So you go back to last season, and I'll come back with Champions League and first trophy.
Well, you will.
The same away.
But wait,
you're going on about.
Don't go off the subject. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that we haven't won the
Pick your battleground.
Haven't been in the Champions League. We have. What I'm saying is this has been an ongoing issue with away form, and what's Eddie done to change it? What improvements have you seen
for the last 3 games?
No, what improvements have you seen in
away games?
Form? In away games, what improvement have you seen him make?
I've seen none.
So why hasn't he changed anything or done anything about it?
I don't know.
So in which case, if he can't do it, it's time to get somebody else who can do it.
No, let's see if he can do it. That's what I'm saying.
How long do we give him? It's been, we've both said...
I've told you, you know how long I've given him. I've given him till the Christmas fixtures are finished.
So absolutely, so we'll just knock this season up completely because he won't change and we won't make changes because we want to...
No, because it might happen before then, because it could well be that if we get beat off Everton and we get beat off Spurs at home on Tuesday, then I'll be the first to say that the likelihood of us getting to within Champions League by Christmas with 4 fixtures left is remote.
But we all know what's going to happen. The potential is we'll lose at Everton, and then we'll go and smash Spurs. And
what happens if we beat Everton and beat? What happens if we beat Everton and beat Spurs?
But then you'll have people back on here saying, "Oh, Eddie's doing great. That's a great result at home." We've got to start looking at the away results.
I'm saying if we beat Everton.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the yo-yo effect of all of us fans. You know, we peak at the highs because we see the win.
Eddie has obviously targeted the Everton game as the more important of the two by making changes for yesterday's game instead of playing the best team yesterday and resting players for the Everton game. So he's done exactly what you wanted him to do. He's prioritised the Everton game.
And that's why I never called him
out.
So
let's see what happens in the Everton game.
But that's why I never called him out for this game. And I said I wouldn't on the Monday night. And I say he's made the changes. It hasn't worked. There wouldn't have been the changes I made. And I think there's major questions about the changes he did make and the change in formation.
I totally agree with you.
There's a different discussion on that. But going into Everton, he's not rested Tonali. He's not rested Bruno. we're going in there with players who are going to be two of our best players who are going to be playing 3 games in a week if he plays them.
I agree. If you want an argument,
Neither
pick a
here
different
nor there, is
subject.
it?
But then
Aye.
you're saying don't you can't say that because you're saying don't rotate. So you would have
No,
had.
I'm saying I would not have rotated yesterday.
So you would have rotated against Everton
Yes.
and expected we to win.
Yeah. On the back of the confidence and the momentum built up by winning yesterday away from home.
But I get that, right? I do get that, what you're saying, Win. My point is that whichever way you go, whether it's Everton or yesterday when you rotate, if you're going to rotate, do it properly.
Yeah.
And that entails actually resting Bruno and or Tonali. For me, you're kind of going halfway when you're expecting those 2 players to play both games. When those 2 players, when you were at your best, are 2 of the driving forces that get you over the line. So if you want to actually rest the team, then, like I said, those 2 players have got to be included. So I'm just a bit frustrated that, again, they didn't rest yesterday, and they're probably going to be expected to play 90 minutes against Everton in a game we now really need to win.
And all I would do is point to the fact that Bruno, since he joined the club, has played every single game, competitive match, bar 4.
But when he's getting older, he's not the same age as when he started at the club.
Realistically,
he need to manage his time.
Aye, realistically, he's going to have a better chance of being full throttle if he's had that week. Surely, I know he's got that competitive edge. I know that, but taking out the emotion that he has, surely, he's going to be better off playing against Everton with that rest under his belt.
It's like I said. Listen, we all have. There's 4 of us in this panel tonight, and we all have a different opinion on who should be rested, who should play. Right? Everybody has. They're not robots. We know that. And some players suffer. Some players look like they can continue. Doesn't matter what game it is. They've just got this machine. I agree with what Tim was saying earlier. It did look a little bit stale at times, especially our midfield. What worried me is what I showed last night was the passing lanes. When you look at our pass map, Bruno sitting in the middle and everybody else outside the centre circle, away from him. And then you see Marseille's team and their passing lanes where it's completely crowded out. And I said the only way you win or at least hold teams back is by competing in midfield. And we were nowhere near that yesterday. And again, this goes back to the formation that can only be set up by the coach. And whether Eddie Howe stays in or he goes, what Eddie Howe has to do, and he's got to do really quickly, is figure out a way to play home and away. You can't play the same way, both home and away, because it's totally ineffective. Teams know what you're going to bring them, especially in the Premier League. Premier League now, especially, you're going to get found out quickly, and we have done already away from home. Because people can counter you. One ball out, and you, like I said, we saw it with Marseille last night. One ball out when you've lost it, and you've gone. You've taken out 5 or 6 players. So for me, there's got to be a way. I'm watching PSV at the minute at Anfield, and again, allowing Liverpool to have the ball when they've got it. Defend as a unit, and then they break, but they break from 3/4 of their own pitch, and that's how you control a game. You've not got the ball, but they know. If they give the ball at any point, PSV can break because they've committed bodies forward. But they're chasing the game now, Liverpool. That's what I said. For me, Newcastle were never chasing the game yesterday when we got 1-0 up. It's about then making a decision on how you go ahead and play the game, knowing full well the lads have already played 72 hours before. You've only made 3 changes. 3 changes in a team doesn't rest a lot of players. So, again, it's about management. It's about keeping control of that ball, the formation, the way you play. He wants to become a possessive-based coach now from bringing a team in that wants to go all-out attack. It doesn't work. You can't just change the way you play at the drop of a hat without having a full season of changing it through. But you change it from the back. You've got a keeper who can't kick a ball. So how are you changing things?
tell you one thing I will be fuming with if he goes into Everton and rests some of our best players against them. So he's done a half and half job, half against Marseille and half against Everton. If we need to play our best team against Everton now, and I think in the position he's in, he has to do it anyway. But if he was to do that, then there's serious questions to be. Well, there's already serious questions to be asked.
They're serious now, isn't
there? But if he does that, then that's the killer for me. He can't have thought I'll rest a few players for this game and a few players for that game. That was never ever going to work.
Yeah, I'm just going to let people out there in Viewerland know, for those that are watching, Chris, obviously, it's Thanksgiving over the pond, so he will not be on tonight's show. So there won't be no other show after this one. We're just going to extend this one a little bit further on until we finish, whenever that is. And I suppose we should have a look at the implications of what could happen if Newcastle fail. So let's do that straight after this.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Boaky, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 7:30 p.m. UK, 1:30 p.m. USA.
NUFC Talk.
Right then, so we've got, at the minute, there's been a good feed, and it's called the Financial Benefits of the Champions League Success. And there's a finance expert called Adam Williams about what it all means to Newcastle to obviously, compete in the Champions League. But what was interesting was his comment was, he said, for what it's worth, I think Newcastle will go through. But let's assume they either A, don't finish in the top 8, or B, somehow manage to not finish in the top 24. In that second scenario, they are probably going to only have taken another point or two, which is going to be worth about £1 million in prize money. By contrast, if they win their 3 remaining games, they'll pick up around about $5.5 million from UEFA. In addition, the flat participation fee and contributions from the value pillar, which is determined by the club's coefficients and the value of the country's domestic TV deals, by my count, they are probably at around 40 million in revenue from the Champions League this season. So, obviously, he's now looking at 2 different angles of where Newcastle could be and the type of implications financially that will impose on Newcastle if they fail to qualify, right? So he's seen it from 3 different aspects, if you like, going through in the top 8, then obviously 24, and then obviously not qualifying at all. And with the new SCR, and this was my point to the lads in the previous show, was this new SCR isn't going to benefit Newcastle whatsoever. We are in the same predicament as we are with PSR. And I've got Stefan Borson that I'll show his video explaining a little bit about it in a minute. For those that are interested, you're probably going to bore the life out of you, but it's good bedtime reading. So what I wanted to ask you guys, with the financial implications already set now, we know SCR's coming in. It's going to start from the 26-27 season. This must be on Piff's mind when it comes to, we talk about people at the helm, moving the club forward. They've agreed to this, by the way, the Newcastle board. This is something that they voted for. So they've obviously got something in mind. With all the monies that can be made from Champions League, domestic trophies and everything else, if all of Eddie's eggs are in all of the baskets and he's struggling to put a side out there away from home that can compete, is that too much for Eddie Howe to look at and work the system to financially benefit Newcastle? Because Piff will need the financial benefit from a cup run, European and Premier League.
But the big money comes from Champions League.
Yeah.
The big money come. Yes, you get a few millions for finishing 5 or 6 positions up the Prem, but your main television money's guaranteed. So you've got your merit payments. Our facilities fees and everything are going to be pretty much the same, regardless of where we finish. So all you're getting in the Premier League is that merit money. 1.75 million per place.
Per place, yeah. Something silly like that, isn't it? It's not
Whereas top 8 of the Champions League, you got 40 million straight away.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And then you've got your bonuses on top of that for win money, draw money, and facilities fees.
I think if I'm Piff, you're sitting there saying, we spent the 250-60 million pound in the summer to compete on all levels. So we brought in the players that he needed to have a squad of players that so you could compete Champions League, and the cups. And
well, you've spent 200. You're going to give
his choice of players that he's brought in.
Yeah.
So you've got to then be seriously questioning. Well, hang on, we'll give you the ammo, but you're not firing.
So you're going to give him the 120 million in January to spend, are you?
What do you mean?
Because unless you get back the 120 million for the player that he's lost,
but when
that was his player, he hasn't spent 250 million. He spent 130 million.
I spent 250 million pound on players. I didn't say overall,
and he got 130 back.
I didn't say overall spend. What I said was he spent 250 million pound on players to be able to go into this
build a squad
to be able
from which he's lost 130 million pound striker, arguably supposedly the best in the country.
Thing is, Win, right? I understand that point, and Eddie Howe had a lot to deal with in the summer with Isak that was unconventional to most summers that a manager will have to go through. So I think that has to be acknowledged. But what you're saying there kind of has no bearing on how we look at how the squad itself is being managed with these games in Europe and the league. So whether or not, he got money for Isak or whatever, is he, after having the experience 2 years ago, is he now using the squad as best as he can to compete on all fronts?
All I'm saying is that conversation started with Boaky saying PIF have now given him 250 million pound to spend. Da-di-da-di-da. Well, they haven't. They've given him 130 million, 55 million of which hasn't been available to him.
That isn't how that conversation started. What I said was Piff had spent 250 million pound on players, of 260 million pound on players, for us to have a good enough squad to challenge this season.
Yeah, and if you're talking about Piff got 130 million back.
Eddie Howe chose those players. So, and you said this is the best squad ever. You said this is the best squad we've ever had. So I think Piff have got a good right
with
to turn around
with Visser and Walter Marder, the big spend of the lot.
I think Piff have got a good thing to turn around to Eddie and say, we've backed you, we've given you what you wanted, we've brought the players in. Why aren't we challenging? Why aren't we up there?
Mm.
And I would argue that we are.
What? In all competitions, we're up there, challenging.
Well, obviously.
So
We're 8th in the Champions League. We're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup.
In Premier League,
and we're 5 points off the Champions League in the Premier League.
Win. What position will win in the Premier League?
We're 14th, as it happens.
Yeah. So that's not good enough.
We're 5 points off 5th, 4th.
But Win, that's not good enough. 14th is not good enough.
No, 5th is good enough, though.
Yeah, 5th's good enough.
Yeah,
Fifth isn't good enough because everybody's losing tonight, so I don't think there'll be 5 places in the Champions League.
3-1 to PSV, no.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thanks, Corey, for that one. $2.99, mate. Liverpool are knackered 3-1, and it looks like Ekitike got injured. So Isak's on.
Jesus.
So,
how many points off relegation win?
4-3. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we're closer to relegation than we are Champions League. If using your argument,
yeah, but I'm using my argument. And when we get his £55 million worth of the tour, well, you're saying 250, you're saying Piff spent 250. They didn't. They spent 130 because they got 120 back. So Piff spent 130. Out of that 130, he didn't get £90 million worth, £70 million worth until the season was 4 games in. He didn't get. He hasn't had £55 million worth of it yet. We're basically playing with last season's squad without Hall and Livramento for large parts of the game.
He's got a £44 million midfielder that he bought, and he's got a £55 million striker.
Who was injured?
He's got a £55 million winger that he bought.
That's the big question mark.
Who cannot get games. So
that's the big question mark.
If you were Piff, I would be turning around saying, "Well, Eddie, you've guided with 2 of these players, but you're not using them.
Yeah.
So why did we sign them? If he
couldn't get him, Wemo, who was really who we
hasn't got the confidence in them, why did we sign them players?
Look, like I
because
look
we needed a right winger, and Eddie thought he was the best available.
But the thing is, Win, is that I've made my points clear, and that I respect Howe, and I think he deserves massive respect for what he's done for us. And I know people that don't like his interviews and stuff, and I know he's very kind of reserved in that way. But certainly he's got more integrity than a lot of managers, in my opinion, that we've had over the years. So I'm not going to forget that. But I do think there's legitimate questions now in regards to his squad management, where yes, he's been dealt a bad hand with Wissa injury and the Isaac thing, but in terms of like looking ahead and thinking, can he juggle? Yes, we're not off the Champions League too much in the league; it's potentially attainable, but looking at the details and looking at the signs and the selections that he's making, I do wonder about his capabilities to manage the squad between Europe and the league, where you've got players, in my opinion, potentially getting burnt out because players that he wants are not, for some reason, getting substantial minutes and being rotated onto the pitch. And I also wonder about young players like Miley, where we've had the thing with Anderson, and it looks like history could be repeating, where, to me, Miley should be getting more minutes, and he might be sold, and he might go on to become a quality player that we could have had playing for us, Geordie in black and white doing his stuff, because we persisted and refused to rest Tonali and Bruno, because it's as if the world's going to end if they ever spend any time on the bench.
If you want an argument, pick a different subject. Has Eddie covered himself with glory in the last few away games? No, he has not.
Not the last few away games since the last season. So don't underestimate it. It's going back over.
All I'll say about last season is Champions League and a trophy. If he does that this season, I'll be more than happy. Thank you very much.
But I'm saying don't underplay the fact that we're away form is shocking and has been for a long time. So saying the last few games isn't true. It's been all of this season, and I would say
it hasn't. No, it hasn't been all this season.
It has been all this season. How many points
we outplayed Villa. Well, for a start, the first 3 we played without a striker.
We outplayed them. What happened? We didn't win.
We didn't get beat. We didn't concede.
We didn't win. So away form is woeful. If you look at it from, as I say, the end of last season, start of this season, our away form is woeful, and you're trying to underplay it.
And I'll say it's that bad. It's that bad that we've got Champions League and won a trophy. Royston!
Royston!
Bloody hell, win, man. Look. There's a difference between Mike Ashley, Newcastle, or pre-Hall and Shepherd, Newcastle, and the PIF Newcastle. Now, a point with Villa was good when you're fighting relegation, not when you're trying to go to the top 4. Every point you drop now, you're dropping. And we're 14th. It's shit. It's absolute
language.
Shit. Oh, I mean poop. If we get the beat against Everton, that 5 points you're talking about will be 8 points. So that's 3 wins. So you'll have to wait for, but we're 14th. So we've got 30, we've got 10 teams. Forget the top 4. Let's say we're fighting for 5th. You've got 9 teams you're competing with. And you're behind them by 7, 8 points. So you drop one more game, that's going to be 10 points. It's a race. I've been doing this for years. We are miles away now. Miles.
You said exactly the same thing last season at this stage.
I didn't say the same thing last season.
Yes, you
last
did.
Season, last season was like 2 or 3 points. And it stayed
5-5-5, and we were 7 points up the top 3.
Well, we've lost more games already now. There's only 12 games gone. So we'll have to win every single...
Because the table is so condensed between 4th and 17th.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's completely different to what it was last season.
Yeah, but you know what the problem was last season? The problem was Eddie sticking to Longstaff instead of playing Toon Army for 14 games. And then he realized, oh my God, I've got this midfielder that I don't want to use. So he put him in and that fixed it. Now Toon Army's playing and we're worse than last season. How is he going to fix that? I'll tell you how you fix it. The players that make you lose those games, you drop them. So now you need to drop Pope, who's cost us... Somebody gave me a statistic and said it cost us 9 points in the league.
Yeah.
This season. 9 points.
Pope. He's made 4 howlers.
At least.
Yeah. So that Pope should be dropped. He's not going to drop him. Now, our best game this season was City. Who was missing? Dan Burn. So your next game, Dan Burn should not play. Should not play. Centre back, left back, up front. You shouldn't be on the pitch. You go with that 11 that beat City.
I would even go along with that because he's played Saturday, Tuesday. So yeah, he can be rested on as long as we've got Hall and Livramento fit. Absolutely,
well,
he can be rested.
When were you at the match on Saturday? Burn didn't play. He was suspended.
Oh, so he hasn't played 2 games, so he shouldn't be, no, because he's my best centre back. I was just going along with the crowd.
He shouldn't play because that team that beat City, he wasn't part of it. And Eddie needs to go and say, "Okay, guys, you're going again."
As I said on Saturday, the reason that team beat City was because we had 2 full backs back.
Tell you what, me personally, I don't think Dan Burn is anywhere near our best centre back. Like Chow and him, miles apart. Brain-wise, movement-wise, Shaw is better than him as well. It's just the physicality, and he's a bit more of a leader than them. And Eddie loves that height. That's why he kept him on against... when did he get sent off? Which game was that? I can't remember now. We've got beat loads of games. I can't remember which one.
Brentford, wasn't it?
Got sent off.
Yeah, there you go. So I kept him on because of his height. What, the extra 2 inches?
Yeah, that was rubbish. Well noticed.
I know. He's losing the plot, man. He's losing the plot.
Yeah, Roy. I was gonna let me ask you this then, right? So we all know that Pope was at fault for opening the door, if you like, for Marcel to get back into the side, right? Getting back into it, right?
Yeah.
But his thought was when he was asked about the error in the post match. He said it's a concern we concede goals regardless of who's at fault. We have to look at everything with a balanced head. He saved us many times. He made some really good saves against Man City just 2 days ago. That's the life of a keeper. But I'll certainly back him. That was his words after the game in the presser, right? So it's like, how many times? Now, I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not a bad shot stopper because that's what he's there for. It's like having a centre forward that don't score goals. We've seen them. We had one playing for us yesterday. Supposedly, Eddie Howe says he's a centre forward anyway. I can't understand why we give this lad another opportunity because he has made 4 clangers that has lost us games this season. And without those errors, yes, we could have been at the minute in the top 10, quite comfortably in the top 10.
Yeah.
But at this present moment in time, his feelings towards players that are playing poorly and still giving them credit seems a long far apart from what we want to see him do, and that's make changes. I'm not saying wholesale changes, but as you quite rightly say, we're supposed to have a squad now competing for 11, right? For 11 places. Yeah. I don't see any change from the players that have come in. You know, it's like, and we kind of made a point earlier, you know, you play Bruce players and you've just spent 100 million on 2 players that sit on the bench.
Yeah.
What's the point?
It just feels like the 2022 team still. Same team that lost the first cup final. It's almost the same team. Minus 1 or 2 players, but football is worse.
Thing is,
lost that energy, the pressing, all that's gone. That's gone.
I mean,
like that season,
right,
yeah.
Well, Winnie's right when he's talking about Champions League, right? And just before you come on, the point I was making was this financial expert has looked at the highs and lows, if you like, of what Newcastle will gain financially by continuing in the Champions League, or what happens if they fail. And he goes on to say, like, what happens if Newcastle drop out of the Champions League, right? So at the end of the day, we know that's probably not going to happen. But there's a couple of interesting things here. The best case scenario, but what about the other side of the coin, he says? If Newcastle were to finish outside the qualifying spots altogether or fail in the playoffs, it could be a very expensive failure indeed. On this, Williams added, if you miss out on the last 16, that's around 9.5 million you lose. The quarterfinals is about 11, semi-finals about 13 million, finals 16 million. And the winner gets another 6 million or so on top of that, plus obviously a little bit of global support, I suppose. So let's say Newcastle hypothetically lose their last 3 games and don't even make the playoffs. That would be around about a £10 million loss in prize money, plus potentially up to 55 million in available prize money for going out the way, all the way to the final. So we've got a figure of around about £65 that they could lose if they fail. Is PIF waiting to see, before they make a decision, is the Champions League run at this present moment in time Eddie Howe's best option to stay in a job?
Well, you wouldn't have thought so from the team he picked yesterday.
Well, I'm watching PSV at the moment, and we 3-1 up in the 87th minute, and we've got to play them next.
I'm guessing the other side, because I suppose the other way to flip it is it's £65 million that we've never had. So yes, it's a lot of money, and we should be trying to get as far as we can, but it's not as if we need that money to sort of.
We don't need that money.
No, to keep I know we do win. Well, if you let us finish, we don't need that money to keep the club afloat or to sort of develop the squad. We're still going to have money either way. It's just going to be a lot less. So we do need that money in regards to if we want to develop. But that's again down to what's the issue? What's the issue with where we form? Who's the person that can change it? It's the manager, and he's not doing it. We haven't changed. So if there's one person who's going to be a blame for not having that extra money, it's Eddie Howe.
I don't think you can target like the Champions League and just go off the money and go, okay, the money's there. Let's just prioritize the Champions League. Like the league's the bread and butter, and you manage the squad accordingly, and you see the fruits of your labour in the Champions League as a result of that, if that makes sense. And like, I get it. Obviously, there's a lot of money, and it'd be a shame to miss out on that, obviously. But we can't just be saying, okay, money, Champions League, just focus on that game and play your strongest. I mean, we're not even rotating anyway. So he's not even rotating properly, in my opinion, anyway. And in terms of like the Pope thing, I'm not going to go against Eddie Howe for the comments myself, because look, he's going to back the player publicly, and that's fine. I think that for me, the proof is in the pudding on the team sheet. That's the main thing. Come come the weekend against Everton, and whether he actually does pick Pope, that's where I'm going to be, criticising if he doesn't pick Ramsdale. And last season he didn't have Europe to contend with, so he could just focus on the league and drive home and really have a strong second half of the season. And it proved right, obviously, because he won the cup. He got us top 5, so I think he deserved that faith, and he rewarded us. But now we're juggling Europe as well, and I just think you look back 2 years ago, and with a heavy heart, I'm just not sure at all that he's kind of learned from 2 years ago to be able to propel us forwards, managing seasons like this where you've got Europe in the league.
And I share all of your worries. But I just think he's got sufficient credit in the bank to let's see if he can pull a rabbit out the hat exactly as he did last year, when all the knives were out exactly the same as they're out now. And look what we did last year.
Yeah, but last year the rabbit was Toon Army. Who's the rabbit now?
Well, we didn't have the games either, did we?
Yeah.
That's what I said. We didn't have the game, so there was plenty of breaks in between, tactical support and everything else.
Yeah.
And that's what supported Eddie Howe. That's what I'm saying. When you're playing 3 games a week, the way we are at the moment, and this is going to go straight into the new year doing exactly the same, something has to give. Now, for me, Eddie Howe has to make a decision of what he thinks the bread and butter is. And I think at this present moment in time, like I say, the way the results are going, there'll only be 4 slots for the Champions League position at the end of this season. So he's either got to make a decision on going all out on, they've just gone 4 up. PSV. Like I said, this is how you control a game. When you're winning and a team's got to come out to you. PSV have played absolutely fantastic against Liverpool, and they've literally countered them at every opportunity, and they've just scored 4 goals. Eddie Howe needs to have a look at this, because this is the team you're playing next, lad. I'm going to put something on the screen. This is for everybody in the chat. I want you to tell me what you think Pope is saying to Aubameyang as he's running past him. Mate, keep it clean, because obviously we can't show it on screen if there's any foul language. So try and keep it clean. It's a bit of fun. What do you think Pope is saying to Aubameyang as we go past there? It's an interesting, for me, I look at every game is important. I don't look at one game over another. We've seen managers, and we've critiqued managers in the past, or coaches in the past, where they've said, I don't really want to go in the Carabao Cup because it's a Tuppenny Halfpenny Cup until we get to the semi-finals, and then they'll put the strong sides out, or the quarter-finals. But it's same with the early rounds of the FA Cup to a degree, especially when you're playing the lower sides. And that's where, we've seen problems happen to Newcastle in the past. But I mean, we've got to start looking at it with a bit more of an open book. And I know Eddie Howe wants to be in every competition, and he wants to compete in every competition. But you're going to lose something. Go on, sorry, mate.
Just win up on one point. You keep saying about this run that we went on last season. The reason we had to go on the run last season was because we had a poor start of the season. We've had a poor start of this season, yeah?
Correct.
So, again, Eddie Howe hasn't learned that either. He hasn't managed to pick up on the fact that we're being slow starters under him. And I think it was the season before as well. He's again, that's another thing he hasn't developed. It's an ongoing, the issues that we've got.
You can't keep saying the ongoing issues from last season when last season we qualified for the Champions League and won the cup.
You can see patterns and the patterns are ongoing issues. Yes, we won the cup, and you can keep bringing that up. And
if you're on about patterns, I'm just saying that the patterns are successful patterns.
Everybody loves the fact we won the cup, but again, you look at Eddie as a manager. He had the same issues last season at the start of the season that we went in and we had a poor start. Again, it's repeated this season, and we've got the same issues from last season where we're away form, and he's done nothing about it. He's not developing as a manager.
Listen, I ain't here to say that I want Eddie Howe sacked.
Corey's in
I
the
don't.
chat. Liverpool are knackered 3-1. He says,
We've
please
done that
don't
one.
score again.
That's old school. It's 4-1 now.
Yeah, it's 4.
Yeah.
He's lost. He's lost.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. Do you reckon Slot will be available?
Exactly.
Oh my days! You're talking about a manager.
Do you think if he gets sacked this week, our fans might think, "Well, he's just won them the league last season." Ungrateful gits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just spent £500 million.
But here's the thing: he won the league last season with the squad that he inherited, and then he spent 400 million getting the players that he wants to change that squad. And this is what he's doing with those players.
I think he's gone today.
I
think he's gone today as well.
I think that is
sacked in the morning. I don't know what they're singing, but I bet they are.
Well, Isaac did absolutely diddly squat again. I'll tell you something now. It's phenomenal what that lad's got. And if Ekitike has pulled an injury, fair play. I think he's definitely gone in the morning. Keep your eye out for anything that's in the chat, Win, if anything comes up from that.
Win, are you worried that if Slot does get sacked, that Liverpool come in for Eddie Howe?
No, Eddie Howe's not available.
Do you think they will come in for Eddie Howe if he gets sacked?
There's no way Eddie will work with Isaac again.
No, I'm just asking it. Win said he's an elite manager, brilliant. Do you think Liverpool may come in for him?
Probably not right now. No, I think Klopp may come back.
I think Eddie Howe.
I don't think he fits in that caliber of clubs yet.
Eddie Howe could get the Spurs job at some point, I think, and even the Man United job. I think Dan Ashworth apparently wanted or suggested Eddie Howe before they got the current manager. So Eddie Howe, I think, will get a very good job after us. But it's about timing, isn't it? It's about
he's not good enough for Liverpool, though.
No chance.
No.
Are you saying we are Liverpool like Boaky?
No, not at all. I'm just saying you're saying that you're being out Eddie Howe's manager, and he could go anywhere he wants. But there's an elite club going to be looking for a manager potentially.
Well, there's big clubs and there's elite clubs, and we are not an elite club.
That's not what I was saying.
Yeah, but he's not good enough for those elite.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying Liverpool are an elite club, so they won't come in for Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
correct?
I don't think so. No way.
No, so he's not an elite manager. In which case, he's not that good a manager. He's not as good a manager for a top of the league club.
Let's have a quick look at where. I mean, some of the games are still haven't been updated on here, so we'll do our best. This is where they'd got obviously if the game's finished, the results as they are up to yet. There's only one game finished, but Arsenal top, Inter, PSG, Bayern, Real Madrid, Dortmund, Chelsea, Sporting, Man City, Atalanta. That's the top 10. Newcastle are now in 11th. Liverpool 12th. Galatasaray, PSV, Tottenham, Leverkusen, Barcelona, Athletic, Karabag, Napoli, Marseille. I mean, Marseille 21st, lads. Come on. That's what I'm saying. It's a shocking result last night. Juventus, Monaco, Paphos, Union SG, Club Bruges, Athletic Club, Eintracht Frankfurt, Copenhagen, Benfica, Slavia Prague, and Glimt.
How many points are Paphos on? 24th place.
Paphos.
6.
Yeah, well, it's
6
Ajax,
points.
isn't it? Ajax have still got nothing, mate. I mean, they are going
No,
right
24th place, so that's the last.
24th, yeah.
Paphos are on 6, yeah.
6 points, so that's 3 points behind us.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You can lose one more game and we might drop 15 spots.
We might drop, yeah.
Which is why I wanted to prioritise yesterday's game.
But it's like it was their doable win. We still had more shots on goal than they did. It was the attitude of the players. And again, that has to come and be addressed by Eddie Howe. Because you can't play this intensity all the time from kickoff of the second half and still go and try and win the game when you're already winning it. I've just watched PSV control that game in that second half and allow Liverpool to come at them and they've just got behind them every time they've done it. They've had the ball, which is something Newcastle just failed to do.
Isn't that exactly what we did yesterday? We were the better team when we had the 27% possession, created the most chances, good chances.
Yeah, you're right, but that's what I said. Go for the throws early on, quiet. But once you've got control of the game, that's when you need to start dropping off, not keep going. And that can only come from Eddie Howe. It doesn't come from the players. That's what I'm saying. Where do you get that? For me, the logic would be, don't chase the game when you're winning the game. The other team has to chase you. You've got players on the field there that can break quickly. You've got players on the bench that are fresh that can come on and can break quickly. It just doesn't make sense to me to keep going for the same thing, the jugular, over and over again, and leaving yourself wide open at the back. It just doesn't make sense. And that's why I said I'm not Eddie out by any shout. I don't want to see anybody sacked. But you have to question, when you've only got one way of playing, how you move forward under this manager. Because it doesn't seem as though he's got an idea of how to play against European sides.
Liverpool, 64% possession.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Possession is only 9/10 of the law. If you control possession, like I say, like Liverpool have tonight, that's fine. But you've still got to be able to, keep the door closed behind you when you've got all that possession. Good teams
XG 2.66 against PSV's 2.22. 27 shots, 10 on target for Liverpool, 9 and 6 for PSV.
And they scored 4.
And they scored 4.
That's away from home, by the way. So you can imagine what they're going to be now, at home. So it's not going to be an easy game.
I think we're in trouble now.
We're at home.
Oh, have we got PSV at home? I thought we were at PSV away.
We're at home.
That's a must win.
Leverkusen away.
Win that.
Leverkusen and PSV away.
Is that the next one? Or is it?
Yeah.
PSV,
Leverkusen who've just beat Man City.
Yeah.
At the Etihad.
Mad.
Shit. And the last one as well.
Yeah.
You wonder why I wanted to prioritise yesterday's game.
Yeah, but you said we were going to win the Champions League, so I've got no problem.
Once you get it, if we could have finished in the top 8, which is looking more difficult now,
that's not going
we could have finished in the top 8. You've got every chance. On our day, we can beat anybody with a full team.
Apart from away from home.
He's got 2 legs, home and away.
Well, Kenny said it's Frankfurt next game.
We don't play Frankfurt.
He says Frankfurt next game. I'm thinking we don't play them, do we?
No, Leverkusen away.
No, Leverkusen. And is Leverkusen first?
It's just before the Maccabi game.
Leverkusen's first, PSV's in January when Chris is over.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be an interesting one again.
Well, we'll have to try to win this one, and then I think 2 points is enough. 11, you're in. 11, you're in.
Yeah.
11 with a good. We've got a good goal difference, fortunately, at the minute.
Yeah. Well, just win one game, and then you know what it is, win that one game, and rest your players for the next. Because we're not going to go top 8 anyway. You win it, you're in. Rest the players, focus on the league, try to fix things up. 15
points can get you top 8.
Yeah, but do you think though? Any of those games, seeing with the results this weekend, this week, these last two days, do you think any of them are doable though? Because I'm doubting it now, especially the away games.
I'm worried more about the performances than who we're playing and when and stuff. Because we're playing rubbish. We can probably play FC Taco Bell and they'll still beat us. We'll go 1-0 up.
I'm still hopeful that when Wissa comes in, he's going to make a massive difference. Because I think he could be the catalyst for Elanga starting to perform as well. So, you could argue I'm putting all my eggs in that basket, but
I get that win, and it's going to be massive when he comes back, and a massive relief to see what he can give us as well. But what would you? So when you say that, have you got Wissa playing with Voltemada in mind, or do you mean to rest Voltemada? What have you got in mind?
I think you can mix and match. You can, certain games you can play them both. Other games, Just play one of them. Proper 4-3-3.
And I agree. I kind of come back to, I think that's the way forward, but I'm waiting for Eddie Howe to drop in the league anyway. One of these three midfielders.
Also what I'm looking at is, if we get up there, as I hope we will, still, really optimistic that we can do that. No problem. We can then go into January, buy another striker, buy a fullback, and probably buy a midfielder.
But will he drop Joe Linton or Tonali or Bruno for league games, as and when, to fit Wissa?
Well, it would appear not, because he's prioritised the Everton game over the Marseille game. It would appear that he's gone down the bread and butter as more important than 60 million route.
Sorry, Gary, but what I mean is, like, just generally speaking, he seems really reluctant to drop one of the first three starting midfielders in the league, or just rotate them around in the league. He's really reluctant to do that. I mean, granted, he has done it on rare occasions, but to me, it's not very often at all. And when Wissa comes back in, if he's to play with Volamada, obviously it's a change of lineup, isn't it, in formation, and you're going to have to drop, say, Joe Linton, for example, from a league game, not a European game, but a league game. And if Wissa and Volamada hit it off, then you're going to have to do that for the next game, maybe. Granted, if the opposition is tailored towards that, and then obviously bring Joe Linton back into the game, etc. But I wonder about that flexibility.
Or you go 4-4-1-1, which would be my preferred.
That's what I mean.
Formation.
But can I just ask you guys though? We talk about match fitness and sharpness. When do these players, your Alangas, get up to speed? Because we're coming to the busiest time, the busiest schedule of the season now. When we get into Christmas time, December, it's going to be thick and fast. When are the players that have been sat on the bench since the summer going to get time to get match sharp, to get match speed, to get involved in Eddie Howe's transitions and things like that? Because, until you're playing games, competitive games, you're never going to get there. So again, are we reliant on the same 11 to play 3 games a week and just have 15 to 20 minute spells from those coming off the bench? Because I think if that is his case, I think he's on a nosedive.
How many minutes has Elanga played this season?
I'd say less than 250.
I would say about 250, I thought.
Yeah.
770.
770.
770. He's played 418 in the Premier League, 194 in the Champions League, and 158 in the League Cup.
But when that's not the point, what Gary's saying is when they're going to get a chance to start from the start and get a run of games where they know that they're going to start, or at least start if they know that they're going to start certain games. At the minute, what Eddie's doing is he's not giving these lads chances. Ramsey hasn't had a chance. Elanga hasn't really had much of a chance starting in the games.
Miley as well.
They need a little. They need a little.
And why hasn't he?
Because he hasn't set the ground on fire, but he's never going to unless he gets a bit of confidence and gets a run of games.
But that's like Ramsey, isn't it? You've spent £40 million on this kid to come and sit on the bench. And like I say, to me, I haven't seen anything from Ramsey, don't get me wrong, to say that he should start. But is that a mental thing? Is that the case of, I've only got to play one way because I'm going to be on the bench next week anyway? I mean, are we just talking, lads that are void of confidence, just having more confidence ripped away from them because there's no chance of them starting?
That's my fear in terms of the staleness, Gary.
Yeah,
in terms of
absolutely.
Subconsciously, the players have it, in the back of their mind that, like what I said, I'm not going to play, and it kind of will drag them down mentally, in that they're still bought in. I don't doubt the efforts by and large, and they want to do the best. But I think if you know that you've got these other players ahead of you, regardless as to what you do when you have 20 minutes here or there, I think that's got to be a bit disheartening. And one of the strengths of Eddie Howe is the team spirit, is that togetherness. And I still think the playing form, etc. And I think Eddie Howe, for example, has done wonders to keep Barnes on side, I think, during certain moments throughout his career here, because a lot of players would have kicked off. And that's testament to Eddie Howe's mind management. But at the same time, it's got to a point now where I just think some players, they will be thinking in the back of their mind, this is very frustrating and I'm going to have to bite my tongue here and I can't get my rhythm going.
Can we just turn it then to obviously there's certain issues that we've got to see within the squad now, and there's been a quite a nice bit in the Telegraph. Newcastle have received encouragement from the Dutchman who would be interested in a move to St James's Park. However, the report adds that Smith to Newcastle United will only happen if the club can guarantee he will receive regular first team minutes. Now, from what I've seen, I think this lad is a very good player. I think there is a young wonder kid in the making here. But if I was Smith, having watched Newcastle this season play the same midfield back to back to back to back, I would start questioning whether that move was the one for me. Would you?
I wouldn't come.
I think
I wouldn't sign any player who says he demands minutes on the pitch.
Unless I change my name to Roy Howe. Something like that.
I think it's a good thing a player wants to demand player minutes on the pitch. He wants to play.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you've just said this about Bruno, that's a good thing about him. He wants to play match in, match out. Then a player wants to come in with the same attitude, and you're saying, I wouldn't sign him.
If you've got to guarantee him, if you've got to contract him to play, and so you've got to play him even when he's rubbish.
But again,
you've got to earn your place on the pitch.
Yeah, but Bruno's in and out, mate. Bruno didn't have a great game yesterday, but he'll start the weekend because there's nobody to replace him. That's all it is.
Well, there's options, but Miley could come in,
there is
and Ramsey could come in.
You could point that didn't have a great game finger at anybody.
Well, you can. You're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, when you're looking for a player who's saying, I want to come but I want to guarantee minutes. And we go back to the Botman scenario now, because Botman obviously is in talks about a contract extension, but again, he doesn't want to do it because he's not guaranteed minutes, and he wants to play. He wants regular football. He's keen to play regular football. Now, listen, he's had his problems. I'm not saying he hasn't had his problems.
Perform, and you get the regular minutes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is that a confidence thing? If you know that you're competing against a favourite, and all I've got to do is 1 foot wrong and I'm out of the team, where this lad can put many a foot wrong and he's always going to be picked. There's two ways to look at every position, and some players have to perform like warriors week in, week out to retain that position. Other players just have to have a name on the back of the shirt, and it seems guaranteed, a gimme.
Botman had 2 bad games, I'll give you that, but he got dropped. Byrne was sent off. And as soon as the suspension was over, he was available, he's straight back into the team. So that proves Eddie's got his favourites, and that proves why some players are beginning to get annoyed, I would guess, because of the way Eddie has his favourites and doesn't pick his best players. He picks the players that he wants to get into the team. Same with Gordon.
I just find it, like I say, all at this present moment in time, I think there's players there, when I look at the players that Eddie's brought in, and it's nobody else apart. We talk about Scott McTominay now could be interested in a move to Newcastle, and according to all the rumours, Eddie Howe is very keen to have a player like Scott McTominay on his cards. But I go back to why sign players the likes of Ramsey, who, again, I was totally surprised when they went for Ramsey, simply because I hadn't seen anything that it didn't blow my frock up. by the way, at all. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, obviously that's because the midfield three, it's a solid three. Ramsey's going to play a bit part. He's going to come out in and out of the team. But to pay 40 million for him, that's a lot of money to put down on a player just to warm a bench. So I'm thinking, well, maybe Eddie's seen something else that I haven't seen. So, sometimes you just have to say, you know what? Got to give you time. Got to give you the opportunity to perform. And you're right. I saw him a couple of times and I thought, he's got a bit of play about him. I quite like what he's doing. But he's going less and less and less for me now. He's not looking anything like he was in the first couple of times when he was playing. He wanted to get forward. He wanted to get in and break the lines. Didn't look like that yesterday when he got in the side. Didn't look like he wanted to run behind the lines yesterday when he got in the side. So again, I keep going back to it. Are we buying players and just dividing them more of confidence because of the time that they're not getting on the pitch? And how do we get them up to match speed? Because it's just not working. Because I think yesterday, I know we made 3 changes, but I think that to get some fresh legs on that field that haven't played the weekend many minutes, to get some fresh legs on that field, made several more changes in my eyes. And then if you'd have gone out and lost, you'd have gone, you know what? That's because of all the changes, fair enough. But at least the lads coming in on against Everton are going to be fresh. You're going to have that impetus. It's like having no European competitions. And I'm sure, when you look at, it looks like Pep Guardiola, who's supposed to be the best coach out there in the land, made 10 changes for their game. You know what I mean? There's a bit of a difference when it looks to, Pep made a
different, expecting Rolex precision from Casio parts.
But what I'm saying to you is, Pep looks at the Premier League and, like he says, I want to get 98 points. I don't see the same attitude, Win.
Yeah, Eddie's probably like, I want to get 50.
We're beating the same old drum. I'm quite confident that, as he has done in the past, he'll turn things around. If he doesn't, he'll have to go. Simple as. Results are what determine Eddie Howe's future. And it's up to him to get the results any way he thinks fit. And then any talk about, it being too late then to do anything about, if you wait till then, it's nonsense. We got all the time in the world.
Interesting. Gentlemen, I know it's not what you want to hear, but I'm going to have to call it time because all of my family are ready to go to bed. Please, you guys feel free to carry on if you want to carry on and chat. That's entirely up to yourselves. But I am going to have to call it a night, unfortunately.
We'll keep it going a bit longer. We'll get the chats in and that.
Well, thank you all, everybody. Pedestra's just become a member. I've seen up on the chat there. So thank you, Pedestra. We'll put it on the screen in a second. Thank you all for watching for my bit. But like I say, I did the early show so the family can get to bed. So until the next time, tomorrow, au revoir.
Cheers, Gary.
Ta-da now.
See you later, Gary, mate.
Bedastras just became a member. Cheers, Bedastras. Well done. Enjoy the content. So meanwhile, back in the chat. Where we got here? Oh, we've got loads. Saudi PIF are going to freak out when we hit the relegation zone. It will be seen as embarrassing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tony
Well,
T.
we got away with it last week, so I think that 4 points.
With the way this season looks like it's going, I think the 10-year plan has now become a 12-year plan. I don't think they'll settle for that somehow.
No, you can. Some other coach might come in and fix that.
Ashington saying, am I not right in thinking Pope cost us in Arsenal, Brentford, West Ham, and almost messed up with Haaland too? And now Marseille. Yeah. Eddie's comments saying he backs him suggests he's not dropping him. Don't be too sure, I would say to that. Ronnie Omelette, he got relegated at Bournemouth in the end. It started going south and he couldn't change the situation. Bournemouth improved when he was gone.
Well, Bournemouth are now better than ever with him. So I think he had a seventh place finish or something once with them, and then
Ninth was the best that he did.
on 9. Oh, there you go. Why couldn't he do that without the money, the PIF money?
Pontmags literally sold Anderson and kept J7. Joke of a manager, honestly. Well, as I say, that wasn't his decision. That was PP. Or imagine getting rid of Howe and getting somebody like Postecoglou. Be careful what you wish for.
You like him, Win?
One of many things that upsets me. 2 years ago, Louis Miley was a starter and a darn good one for the age. Now the lad can't even get a sniff of the grass. What does that do for development? Insane, man. And he was a good one for his age. No, it's over 38 games, but we bottled the last few games. So did Villa.
Yeah.
Hangy Vivid, you rotate your form players to keep them fresh for the season. You drop the out-of-form players. You don't never, ever rotate players who make mistakes or are out of form. I think that's a message to Eddie. If we don't play Ramsdale in competitive games, we are making a decision whether to sign him or not on guesswork. He needs a run of 10 games so we can make an informed decision of to buy or not to buy. That is the question. It would be interesting how we get on without Bruno in the side. Maybe not as bad as we think. Well, we could find out on Saturday, I suppose.
No, played Bournemouth without him. That was rubbish.
Well, got away a point.
And then
Ashington, 9 points dropped in the Prem because of Pope, but it's all good. Eddie backs him, and he made some good saves against City.
But did he make saves that you wouldn't expect any Premier League keeper to make? We keep saying this, that he makes great saves, but I was saying Ramsdale would let all these chances in.
No, I'm not saying you let them all in. I'm saying he probably wouldn't stop as many as Pope stops, in my opinion. But that's nonetheless, I think the rest of his game sufficiently outweighs his shot-stopping deficiencies.
Who, Pope?
Ramsdale's overall game outweighs Pope's arguably slightly better shot-stopping.
Yeah.
Tangy Vivid, we have to take the Bayer Leverkusen game very seriously now before playing the Mackhams. Thank you, Pope.
Do you actually see us winning against Sunderland?
Sorry again?
Do you see us winning against Sunderland?
Yes.
Not in the form win at the minute. So what makes you say that, Win? What makes you think we can win against Sunderland?
Is that Sunderland?
Yeah, but they're playing better than us.
There's a difference between wanting to win against Sunderland. So my heart is, yes, I want to win against Sunderland. Of course I do. But there's absolutely nothing in my brain saying we're going to beat Sunderland, because you just have to look at the rest of our away form. And look at how we've been playing.
And if it doesn't, I'll be on the bandwagon. You know, I'm sick of saying it. I've just got more patience than you've got.
In a few games, we're going to be so. I hope not. We'll be so far down the league. Our end title, our end target is going to be just finishing above Sunderland and beating them. So we're going back.
We will get good.
Back to Ashley.
Believe. So what was your overall thoughts on the game yesterday, Roy? Because we haven't had your sort of match analysis.
I'm not pointing fingers at any players because I think the whole system was. I saw the lineup and I saw there's Tino, Chow, Shaw, and Byrne. So I saw that and I thought, yeah, okay, 4-3-3. Tino's on the right. He's rested Hall. Dan Burns on the left, and then I didn't look at the,
which is what I thought.
Yeah, and I didn't look at the full squad.
No.
So I didn't go to the bottom, and I thought, okay, I'm happy with this. And I thought it was 4-3-3, and then having a tab in the pub, and then I saw Gordon. So I went back and looked. Oh shit, Gordon's in the lineup. Is he on the left?
Oh sugar.
Then I thought, Gordon's up front. And then as the game went, I realised, that's not happening, is it?
As soon as it kicked off, he's got Livramento on the left.
Tino's on the left, Dan Burns right next to him. And then I saw a bit of Chow running, and then he's done 3 with the inverted wingers. Disaster, man.
And then we scored.
We scored, well, yeah.
And should have scored another one.
But it was just hoof the ball stuff. It was just trying to hit them on the counter. It was nothing. And then who guess you know who?
That's not true at all. That's not even fair. We were pressing them.
Yeah, we'll press well. I thought the first 15 minutes we did stay well.
Yeah, man on man press for the first 10 minutes.
10-15 minutes. My first pint, that was alright. Second pint didn't taste as good. And then I was really happy with like the last 5 minutes of the first half. I was like, please whistle now, just please whistle now. It's going to happen any minute. And it finished. And we all sat there and thought, okay, we're going to regroup now here. Might do a few changes, maybe bring Walter Marder on, just put some pressure on them because Gordon was useless. And then crazy 5 minutes, boom, done. And then like for like, so Hall comes in, and I thought maybe he's going to take one of the 3 centre backs off. No, it wasn't. It was Tino. So it was like for like. That's not going to improve your formation. That's not going to improve your football. Like for like, unless you take in, I don't know, like Dan Burn off and you bring in Paolo Maldini or something. But it was nothing improved yesterday. Nothing. Waldemar, I think, held the ball a bit up front. I was happy with Ramsey, and I thought Willock wasn't bad in the first half. Probably one of the best ones in the first half.
First half, he had a canny first. Well, he had a canny first half hour.
I know, I'm not much something like. He's done better than Joe Linton's done in the last 5 or 6 games, and even Ramsey had a little run and got fouled. So I thought maybe these lads are trying to prove something. They're not getting a game, but. Pope, man. Tell you what, if we don't qualify to the second round of Champions League, that's Pope's fault. Well, it's Eddie's fault in general, but as a player, Pope, what the on earth was he doing, man? And then
language.
I've got a comment for that picture, the Gary picture.
Oh right, what was Aubameyang shouting? What was Pope shouting at Aubameyang?
Well, in Star Wars, when Anakin wakes up and realizes he's turned into this big black robot called Darth Vader, he just shouts, "Ah!" with that same sound. That same sound. You shove that on that picture. Ah!
I'll try and do that.
and then I'm sure inside Pope's like, what?
Even though not being a Star Wars fan at all, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You'll find it. Just Google when Anakin realizes he's Darth Vader now.
He says no. He screams no when he wakes up.
Is it like the kid in the peppermint advert? When his dad says he says to his dad he's gone on to soft mints. No!
It's one of the worst. That's probably the worst bit of the whole Star Wars saga. That bit. Why has he done that though?
Oh, we smash the legs, folks. We got up there somewhere. Anybody got anything interesting apart from being miserable over the match to talk about?
Yeah, I know how to save Eddie.
How do I
His
save
job.
Eddie? This is going to be good.
It is good. You sack Jason Tyndall and the rest of the lads with him and bring a new crew.
Bring a new coach in, get a new voice in. Boaky said that months ago.
And sack the new set piece coach, whoever that is. Oh my goodness. It's gone worse. It's worse than last year.
I mean, when Lewis Hall took that corner, he went over to take the corner from the right wing. I thought, whoa, this is interesting. Lewis Hall's gone over to the right wing to take a corner. Gary says, quite rightly, it's obviously going to be an in-swinger. And just never got it 3 foot off the ground, straight at the first man.
I know.
Shocking. I mean, to be fair, you can't blame the coach for that. That's down to the player. And you can't blame Eddie Howe for you can't, I suppose. You can't blame Eddie Howe for Gordon when Willock went on that great run, put the ball across for Gordon to hit.
But it's like Liverpool all over again, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the ball came into him then, and it doesn't connect. Right. It's the same thing, and then
fortunately, when we actually got the goal, it was the result of Gordon completely cocking up. He got an assist out of it because he completely cocked up the cack-handed shot that he was going to try, and it bounced off his leg to Barnes, who put it in the back of the net.
I think a positive to look at is with the team now, we're going to get Wissa back. We've got the 2 full-backs back. Hopefully we can go on this run that we keep talking about, and we can have a good run of games. But I don't see it happen. As I say, I just haven't seen any change in the away form whatsoever so far this season. But as I say, if we get the 2 full-backs back and then Wissa probably, I'm guessing it'll be after AFCON now that'll get back into the squad fully fit. You know, we can progress. So there is light on the horizon. It's just whether Eddie can actually get towards the light.
I think we'll miss a number 6 in midfield. And I think what you were saying earlier about like the home and away, and at home you can afford to be more kind of gun-ho in terms of pressing up the pitch and in terms of not conceding that ground, having that flat 3 more often than not in midfield. But away from home, I just think would benefit from having a number 6 who can come in and fill in that space every now and again.
Okay, so let's analyse that. Why should it be so different playing away than it is at home?
I don't think it's different.
On paper it shouldn't be, but that's just the way football is, and it's like psychological as well, and if we can change it then great, but clearly we can't change it. So when we're playing a team away from home, naturally they're going to have more of an attacking mindset because, like I said, that's football. The home team more often than not wants to attack. So when they're throwing bodies forward and we're playing this flat 3 midfield, and those 3 midfielders are all number 8s, and a lot of the time they lack the defensive nous to fill in here and fill in there, then more often than not you're going to be exposed away from home when teams are throwing bodies forward, as opposed to when we're at home and we're the ones going forward, and the onus is on us to be attacking and be dominant in terms of like using the space and dominating the space on the pitch. That's just the way it is. So unless that changes and football changes, then when we go away from home to these places, then I just think we would benefit. I mean, even at home as well, at times, would benefit. Because against Man City, I highlighted that Man City ultimately were played really well, but they still had chances where they were able to cut through our midfield. And once they were through the midfield and bypassed that, they were in. Because then they've got runners coming in on our centre-backs, and it's like 3-on-2. against the centre backs. So I that's one thing that could help us a lot. But Eddie loves his 3 number 8s, and I just don't see him changing that anytime soon.
No.
And just to quickly say as well, that's going to be really interesting when Wissa is back, because you have got a decision to make then where you could go with the 2 in centre mids who might be a bit more reserved then, and have Voltemera at the tip with Wissa in front.
Or
So
play Wissa where he plays for the Congo on the left wing.
So
no, we're going to have another third.
What about Bonds then?
No, I'm talking about instead of Gordon.
Well,
But Gordon shouldn't start over Bonds at the moment.
I certainly wouldn't have Gordon in, and I'd be looking to cash in on Gordon personally.
Yeah,
I think I'm more and more going on to that bandwagon myself.
I think we might struggle to cash in on him.
I know
He's been playing.
Aye.
Well, the thing is, we're going to probably want 50 million for him. No one's going to pay that for him at the moment, unless he goes to the World Cup.
Well, there's certainly nobody going to be paying him the 170 grand a week that we are paying him.
We need Slot to stay at Liverpool for a little bit.
Oh, why are you worried about losing Eddie? Like,
no, I'm talking about that. I think he's the only one that might buy Gordon.
Let's have a look. Who's been in here again? Get some new ones in.
I think we need to shock Everton.
If Botman and Hall are playing well, there's every chance Wissa doesn't get in the team, because Eddie Howe would be playing Burn up front to get him in.
You know what it is? I will not be surprised if that one. Because he's Timothy
Mutant
Dalton
design with a more nuanced take on things. I still think we're building. It's taking longer with FFP. And we've done unbelievable with that in mind. Trust the process. Somebody is asking for a bit of patience. If Bobby Robson was in charge, he would have played some of the kids here and there, trusted them, motivated them. Our youngest talent never gets a look in ever.
But again, we had 2 keepers on the bench, didn't we? That's 2 games in a row now. 2 keepers on the bench. Unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable.
Tony T saying Botman was bad against Brighton, West Ham and Brentford. Indeed he was. And Yano, we paid £30 million for Hall and we sat him on the bench for a season. And look at what that's done for us now.
Yeah, got us knocked out of the Champions League because Dan Burn was playing on the left.
Yeah, in the best defence in the league.
No, that was the season before.
Second full season.
Yeah, not
yeah.
that
Well, he continued playing down at left back because he'd been part of the best defence in the league.
That was centre back, was it? Left back, right? I mean, fair enough, but I do agree on that second season where I think Lewis Hall could have played a game here or there. I mean, I know there's 2 sides, and now we look at the fruits of like being out and training and getting up to speed on the training ground. Okay, fine. But Eddie Howe was very conservative that way, and there's benefits, no doubt about it. But I just think he maybe needs to be a bit more adventurous in terms of giving players more minutes to let them feel things out on the pitch.
No, that's definitely no rule, Christina.
No.
Every coach can easily play with every coach can easily rotate 1-2 players a game, and it's not going to affect anything.
Oh, there's an interesting one from Tangi. Malik Chow, with the amount of time he sweeps up for others, and how good he is on the ball, how composed he is, I think he could play DCM, to be honest. Now, that was something I always said about Shea. I'm not now, because obviously he hasn't got the legs now. But 2 or 3 years ago, when I was wanting to play with a 6, I said I would have given Cher a shot at it. You know, before Tonali came in.
Chow's were best centre back. You don't want to be moving that lad around. We need to keep him where he's playing and get him settled in there completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing I disagree with there at all. You know, I say play your best players in their best positions.
Exactly.
Right, anybody got anything else before we wind up, boys?
Nothing from me.
We are.
No, well, we'll just say a quick thank you to everybody who's joined us tonight, especially the ones who've hit that like button. Come on, folks.
Oh yeah, my announcement from yesterday, just in case they haven't heard.
Oh.
If we do finish.
Oh yes.
The Champions League.
If we end up in the Champions League this season, Roy is getting an Eddie Howe tattoo.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
If he gets us to the Champions League, not if he gets sacked and someone else does. Yeah. So if he gets to the Champions League, I'm getting Eddie Howe tattoo.
That's fair comment. Thank you to Tony T for the super chat. Thank you, Corey, for your super chats. And thank you, Bedastras, for becoming a member. That's it for now. We will see you tomorrow night. I think we'll be doing the Everton preview. Yeah. So we will see you all for that. Howie the lads.
Howie the lads.
The lads and